Atlanta, Vigilante Wars, Case 010, To Hell and Back. Script by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. Based on a short story novella by Joseph Cautilli, Marisha Cautilli, and Peter Kim. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shauna Lee Carton. It all begins in the least expected way. A seminar on Pavlovian conditioning. Nancy and Cameron lock in a heated discussion about the Rescorla-Wagner theory and how it plays out in a stimulus presentation setup called supersaturation. Paul Jones sits at the table, observing, but is intrigued by its practical implications. All meaningless and esoteric. Can this be proven? He stokes the flames, steering the argument toward practical implications and baiting the two into a corner. Paul isn't a doctoral student in psychology. He audits this class due to his interest in AI training, using operant and respondent conditioning procedures and their implications for holographic systems. After another volley of arguments, he adds, "So, are you both really stating this as just some esoteric bullshit that has no real-world implications? If so, why waste time on it?" Nancy replies first.
No, there are real-world applications to studying people, triggers for their feelings and their choices. This work has critical implications for emotional functioning, helping people attach reactions to complex environmental stimuli.
Cameron won't admit it, but he believes Nancy could be right. Still, he insists there's no way the effect would occur in the real world or could be tested. "I doubt these simple learning principles like supersaturation have real-world applications. The environment is too complex, and people's responses aren't solvable by equations."
It's already been tested in cases of PTSD.
I'll concede some limited application to damaged organisms. However, it's doubtful this effect alone gives a person PTSD. Many experience traumas with no lasting effects. During wars, people in London were exposed to air raid sirens. Professor Kim interrupts. "Yes, we're all aware of Rockman's critiques, but I think those critiques are limited." The bell rings, and the seminar ends, but the spirited students are unwilling to let it go. With little time between classes, Professor Kim offers, "I need to meet with several faculty members, so I'll leave you guys the room." Professor Kim rises, folds his brown leather-clad binder, and exits. As soon as he leaves, Nancy starts towards the door, but Paul stops her. "Let's test it. How would that even be possible?" Another heated argument occurs, demanding the real-world test. Within 20 minutes, the group designs a small experiment, but needs to find Nancy's roommate, Marty Sands. They rush back to the dorms and grab Marty, a master's student in engineering and possibly the brightest of the lot. At first, she thinks they're strange, but agrees to design a system to transfer a 2 millivolt shock wirelessly. Paul thinks he can pair the shock with a hologram. But what should the image be? He considers this with the seriousness of a final exam. From a small dorm room, the five gather chuckling and joking as they set up their experiment. It's a simple supersaturation experiment. They rig a small drone to fly silently and project an image for less than a minute. Paul plays Chains of Love by Eraser to keep focused as the clock strikes 10. Mass ends at the local chapel. The most religious students stroll through the golden doors into the courtyard. With a flip of the switch, the event is created. The hollow image appears as the Virgin Mother, uttering a simple sentence.
"Be a hero. Kill a drug dealer."
At the last word, Cameron presses the button, and all the students feel a 2 millivolt shock less than licking the prongs of a 9-volt battery, just enough for a tiny thrill. These are the most conditioned to believe in religion, so their responses should diminish. Indeed, several students laugh, giving Cameron the sense he's won the argument. The group leaves to debrief the students, considering it critical for good ethics. As they rush down, Nancy regrets what happened. As her argument heat subsides, ethical ramifications set in.
This is wrong. We could get tossed out of school for this. We took away their choice and had no informed consent.
The debrief goes well, but 6 students from the test group are unaccounted for. Probably nothing. Most didn't think it was a big deal and thought it was a joke. The graduate students hit a local pizza place to discuss their results. Mac, the knife, plays in the background. They laugh about the students' reactions until a flash on TV displays a shocking image.
Shh! Oh, God! It was a shooting!
She points to the screen. Police say a gunman broke into a local drug ring and started firing. He insisted the Virgin Mary told him to perform the act.
Unbelievable. This country needs to handle its mental health problems. The behavioral health station was a good start, but we need more psychiatrists. And don't get me started on video games.
The color drains from Nancy's face. We can't be sure it was from our experiment. Most likely just a coincidence. Paul knows there will be an investigation. The group is at serious risk of expulsion and lawsuits for their unethical experiment. Frantic, Nancy rushes to the bathroom to vomit. Paul calls the one person he can trust. The phone rings 3 times. Hey, Paulie. The cheery voice of his dad is soothing. Even though Paul hates being called Paulie, he shakes it off and breathes. Dad, I'm in trouble. I need your help. Two years later, Paul feels deep shame. He lost the only woman he ever loved to a gunman in a nightclub. The gunman, aiming to be a hero, set out to kill a prominent drug dealer, Mr. Squiggles, but his stray bullet hit Marty Sands instead. Paul refers to this as a curse, which worsens when he tries to use Marty's DNA to create their son. The robot, serving as the baby's incubator, believed she was the mother, fled and died in a bus explosion, the details of which still elude him. Paul, in his underwear, swirls a whiskey bottle and stumbles forward, slurring his song. He sings, "Yesterday I heard the rain." Tony Bennett's song plays on the telephonic sound system. With a void inside, he repeatedly mumbles, "Marty, Marty, Marty." Tears stream down his face. He is alone in the room. Then his father, Winston, enters. Winston has witnessed this scene time and again over the last few months. He has tried patience, anger, love, understanding, tolerance, and frustration, but nothing snaps his son out of it. Typically, Winston would sit and discuss the world with Paul, but not tonight. Winston has another matter of pain and suffering to attend to. Winston glances at Paul, his 72-year-old heart sinking with disgust. He is unsure if he should toughen Paul up or if that would drive him deeper into grief. In his day, the former was the way to go, but now counselors insist everyone needs to be coddled. Today, Winston needs to spend time with an old friend, Gino Sabatino. The two were inseparable as kids, despite the gangs in high school that sought to keep them apart. The Italian and English didn't mix then, but Gino and Winston always remained friends. When Gino's wife called to say doctors predicted his stage 4 lung cancer would end his life before sunset, Winston ordered his chauffeurs to get him there immediately. Rain pours from the blackened sky, reflecting off granite black mega scrapers and enhancing the gloom. At midday, the downpour is so heavy it darkens the area, making shops turn on their neon lights. During the ride, Winston's mind floods with memories. He would never have gone to college if not for Gino. I was so damn dumb and was accepted, Gino thought. How could I not make it? The onyx-colored limo glides to a halt at the hospital complex. Features 3 towers and the tallest, the Catalan Caraco Tower. 2 buildings are for body augmentation and AI enhancements, while the prime Caraco Tower is the main hospital. The car rolls up to the 36-story glass pavilion, a marvel of postmodern architecture. Scanning light registers all information and alerts the staff. A robotic hospital tech holds an umbrella as Winston steps out and shields him from the drizzling rain. He presses his hand on the glass scanner, and his near-billion-dollar donation grants him immediate access and a personal escort to his friend's room in the Winston Jones Cancer Center. As he passes through the blue light that removes microbes, he wonders why this procedure is necessary with Gino dying. Inside the sterile corridors, Winston's thoughts race. His face is stoic, but his eyes flicker with anxiety. The stark lighting casts sharp shadows that dance eerily as he moves. His body language is tense, shoulders squared, fists clenching and unclenching. The doors to the room slide open with a soft hiss, and Winston enters. Liza Bean Sabatino greets him, throwing her arms around him. He embraces her tightly, and they kiss.
I'm so glad you came. I thought, given your busy schedule...
My schedule will never be too busy for Gino. Lisa nods, knowing Winston always made time for his friends, even while running an empire.
He's been waiting for you.
She leads Winston to the bed, holding his hand. Gino lies on the hospital bed, surrounded by advanced medical equipment that beeps and whirs. His face is pale and drawn, but hardened with resignation and defiance in his eyes. Winston's heart tightens, but he forces a smile. "Hey, old friend." Winston's voice is steady but thick with emotion. Gino manages a weak smile. "Winston, thanks for coming. Of course, nothing could keep me away. Wow. Even got you here. I guess I'm up Schitt's Creek without a paddle." He chuckles, and Winston leans in, kissing both cheeks. Winston steps closer, gripping Gino's bionic hand. A part cancer had taken years before. The cold metal of the implants contrasts with the warmth of human touch, a poignant reminder of the fine line they walk in this cyber-enhanced world. But this is Gino, so the cold is bearable and even welcomed. The vibration of the hospital technology fills the room, a consistent background to their silent conversation. "How are you feeling, my friend?" Winston sits on one side of the bed and Lisa on the other. The room light shifts from blue to soft yellow, deep and warm, casting golden tones that bathe Gino. "They are controlling the pain. So, have you come with one or more game to stop this and help me avoid my end? I'll beg if you want." "Please, my dearest friend, I can do nothing that your skilled surgeons and medical staff have not already done." Winston glances at the 75-inch monitor, which displays Gino's hospice care plan and his 24-hour care team members' names and photos, including several local priests. The screen shows that Gino received last rites that morning. With voice commands through a pillow speaker, Gino can call for medical assistance. He cancels his psychologist visits for the day, figuring he needs time with Winston, not new people. With a wave, Gino controls the room's lighting, window shades, and temperature. A voice command can adjust the privacy glass, work the television, or play music. Gino refers to it as the future's version of the clapper. Care providers wear badges that transmit their photos and positions to the patient's digital board, making patients feel better cared for. Knowing staff cross the building to meet with them, Gina mulls the words. "Skilled medical staff. When I came in 5 years ago, they said it was late. Spread from my lungs to my bones. Got a cigarette?" Winston shakes his head no. "Too bad. They said I had a 70% chance, but my body grabbed the 30. What the hell, you know? Statistics. He sighs, pain in his eyes. God, I worry what awaits me. Worry, my friend? We've done some deeply questionable things. You don't want to talk about them, and neither do I, but they're there for judgment. When you get to the other side, if they look at all the good you've done compared to the few bad acts, you've brought much joy to the world. For some, I don't think they weigh it. By counting acts, wish there was something that could be done. Gino smiles, knowing this gives Winston the key to start his planned routine. Surely the man has something up his sleeve to bring fun to the situation. He always does. Gino braces himself. Funny you should bring that up. Winston draws a small scroll from his pocket. Well, I did not want to burden you with this, but now that you bring it up, I talked to that monk you like, Fra Diablo. Gino interrupts the blasphemy. Friar Crimson. If Winston notices his disrespect, it is not belied by either his tone or comments. Yes, that's the one. God, my guinea friend. Gino twists his lips at the slur and shakes his head. How you could be part of such a bureaucratic religion is beyond me. Gino starts to protest, but Winston raises a hand. Anyhow, I put a good monk on it, and he wrote the Pope. Got you a pardon from hell. Gino appears skeptical and scrunches his nose. Pardon from hell? No such thing. Gino has often corrected Winston's misconceptions about Catholicism. As he nears death, he figures it's worth another try. Winston's eyes light up. He hands Gino a scroll. Gino unrolls it. The Pope has granted him a general absolution. For a nanosecond, Gino looks happy. Then, a cynical smile crosses his face. Does this cover genocide? Oh, don't you have delusions of grandeur? Genocide is a whole race. You wiped out no races. Maybe displaced a few hundred people, killed a couple dozen more, but in the end, my high Italians friend, you need to crack a few eggs to make souffle. Despite his persistent slurs, his voice always contains a tenderness that Gino dares to think of as love. Those weirdo hippies were well compensated. We created Butterfly City, so we cracked a few eggs. Actually, you don't. But thank you. It gives me some peace. Gino touches Winston's triceps with his flesh hand. But wait, Winston says in his best television commercial voice. Since you acted now, I got a bonus deal for you. This will be rich. Gino nods to Lisa. Yes, my friend, you have a bailout plan with the Lord above. I bought 3 years' worth of mass cards at 17 Catholic churches. So each day, for 3 years, they will pray for mercy on your soul. How could God ignore that? 17. Such a weird number. Why not 20? Winston turns to Gino's wife. You see, I give him years of friendship, buy up all the church time I can pray for him, but it's never enough. Gino's wife smiles, but Gino feels the line is too polished. Winston expected this. He turns to Gino, a half-crooked smile on his face. Since you stood by my side to make a safer world with fewer drug dealers, I took more steps to ensure your freedom from punishment. I had 20 churches in mind, but then it dawned on me. Maybe my friend Gino, with all his pride, picked the wrong church. Gino goes to protest, but Winston raises his hand. Just hear me out. If you were unlucky enough to be born in the wrong church, I picked up 3 other religions to pray for you over the next 3 years. Yes, my friend, you'll be prayed for by Protestants, Jews, and even Wiccan priestess. Well, thanks for dooming me to hell. You're welcome. Winston leans in and hugs Gino. Gino knows he doesn't have to ask about his wife and family. Winston will take care of them. Just 3 weeks earlier, Winston sent a check to cover their daughter Genoveva's college tuition.
We'll miss you both interacting.
Lisa gets up and excuses herself. When she leaves, Gino shifts in his bed to get more comfortable and shifts the conversation as well. How is the boy? You are such a good man. Here I came to talk about your pain, and you stand firm to ask me about mine. Is he okay? He is self-indulgent, or maybe has too much heart. He feels things deep, which is not such a good thing. It is the opposite of what we tried for. The chromosomal enhancements? Yes, my old friend. Winston reaches over and places his hand on top of his friend's human hand. If that had worked, he was supposed to have had nerves of steel and a circulatory system that could pump blood even without a heart. Under normal conditions, there was a powerful resting beat of 25. Oddly, life plays a cruel joke on us, eh? They chuckle. Never trusted those geneticists. Overpromise all the time. Gino coughs. It is a nasty hack that goes on for a full minute and then holds up his hand and offers. Maybe he needs to spread his heart around a bit. It could help it mend. I mean, a woman at this point. I know, but I don't think love is in the nearest stars. I must figure out if he can run this company or not. I hoped he could do a brief stint as a senator to build some of his political connections, but who knows now? Gino coughs and chuckles at the idea of Paul being a senator. Winston spent much of his life funding disinformation to get people to distrust the government. The distrust serves to keep the government weak and allows the men to fight regulations that could lower profits. Still, the big company may be a point to start helping Paul. You have a huge company at your disposal. Many women would jump at the chance, if not as a spouse, then at least for a role as a pet. Just arrange the conditions. The word pet sticks in Winston's head. Maybe Paul needs a plaything to help him through this. Maybe it's best not to intervene. Remember Cop City. Cop City was controversial when Winston was a young entrepreneur. Both sides sought his counsel and funds. He granted both, but refused to take a position, saying, "Every generation has a right to get the government it votes for." The truth is more complicated. It turns out every generation has a right to get the government it doesn't fight against. Winston sighs as the meaning of Gino's words. Gino is supposed to pass before the day's end, but lasts 37 hours. Winston stays by his side most of the time, only going home briefly to freshen up and sleeping in the chair. At 28 hours, Gino's pain worsens, and they induce a coma. Winston holds Gino's hand and talks to him and his wife until Gino draws his last breath. The next day, Winston returns to the office, thinking about finding an attack dog for his son. She must be affectionate, skilled in shooting and protection, to help Paul succeed in the Senate. He starts with security. Frustration grows as he wonders where to begin. Pouring himself a scotch, he realizes the challenge is finding someone physically attractive. Using an AI matchmaker app he developed, Winston scans video files for women in the company who interact with Paul. The computer sorts and produces 5 security women. He rules out 2 based on age, needing someone who will build Paul's ego. Computer, profile my son and the 3 remaining women. Which does he have the highest compatibility with? Paul has compatible psychopathology with 2 of the women. Which would he most likely succeed in dating? The computer shows a picture of one woman. She is plain but loyal. The company recently paid for her sister's surgery. Winston decides to mention her to Paul and then interview her. During lunch, he subtly suggests Paul needs someone to guide him. The next day, Winston calls in a low-level security agent, Adelina de Giacomo. Upon receiving the message, Adelina nearly has a panic attack, fearing she's being fired. She desperately needs the job, resolving to beg to keep it. She prepares herself. After vomiting in the bathroom, she heads to the boss's office. The tubal elevator takes her to the penthouse office. The room smells of peppermint, and the soft music fills the waiting area. The administrative worker greets her pleasantly, said the boss is waiting to see her, and asks her to sit. Adelina does as instructed and mentally kicks herself. Part of her problem in life, as she sees it, is that she always did as instructed. After 3 agonizing minutes, Winston emerges from his office. Miss de Giacomo, it is a pleasure to meet you finally. He extends his hand and she shakes it. His voice is warm and friendly, and she realizes this might not be about letting her go. After all, Winston Jones has plenty of low-level supervisors for firing people. Her face brightens.
Actually, sir, the pleasure is mine. I love working here and share the company's vision for a brighter future for our children.
Winston's smile widens even more. This is starting on a good note. Please, come into my office. I have a project I was hoping you would join. A project her mind whirls in delight. She thinks,
This could be it. My big break.
it's wonderful that Winston sees her as competent. He is so successful and has seen so many people. He would clearly know. When Winston tells her what he is seeking, her heart sinks. It starts as standard security stuff, protecting him with her life, but then it transforms into something else. Did the company think her a common whore for use? In her mind, Adelina screams out to get a lawyer and sue them for sexual harassment. But then, Winston states this is a 10-year contract, and the pay is double what she is making. Of course, if she pulls it off, there will be gifts from Paul and the family.
So, let me get this straight. I get 10 years' pay, even if he fires me and wants nothing to do with me.
Winston, still reeling from the loss of his dear friend Gino, feels a pang of grief as he explains the details. He wonders if the grief is clouding his judgment. Was he overplaying his hand? Maybe he is trying to make his deceased friend's assessment a miracle, that it was not. The weight of his sorrow is evident in his eyes, and Adelina can't help but notice the heaviness in his voice. That is correct, Adelina thinks.
Rich people are truly insane. Nothing holds them tethered to reality.
Adelina knows all her girlfriends would have run from this, but she likes the idea of power. She views this as a mix of a bodyguard and a courtesan. She muses in her head.
Man, my boss is stuck in the 19th century.
10 years as chief bodyguard to Paul, a man who might be a senator and certainly the sole heir to Runyon Blue. She is set for life, and this is a noble task. She needs to feed his ego a bit. What were the words Winston offered? Be his fluffer. She heard the word years ago from a friend who said in the porn industry, a fluffer was the woman hired to keep the men on the set turned on. She can do that, a bit of teasing here and there, but for it to work in the long term, she will need more than just sexual charm. She needs some kink to get the guy to fall for her. It is a goal and would take work. Adelina's eyes narrow as she contemplates her strategy. The dim light casts shadows on her face, and she glances out the window. His office is high above, in the sky. Maybe if she did this, she would fly high as well. It's an opportunity. A sick one, but an opportunity nonetheless. Her lips curl into a sly smile, a mix of determination and cunning. She adjusts her posture, sitting tall and confident, ready to embrace the role she has been given. The distant murmur of voices fills the room, a stark contrast to the turmoil in her head. She knows this world is a game of power and manipulation, and she is ready to play. Her heart races with anticipation, the thrill of the challenge ahead. How far would it go? How far would Winston let it go? Was she any better than the woman turning tricks for money to buy heroin? She takes a deep breath, steeling herself for what is to come. The neon lights flicker outside, casting an eerie glow on her face, a reminder of the dark, twisted reality she is about to navigate.
What if at some point he chose to marry me?
The question tests how far Winston will let this go. Adelina is prepared to do whatever it takes to secure a future, even if it means diving into deception and seduction. She is a force to be reckoned with, untethered by morality and convention. In this world of shadows and secrets, she will rise to the top, one calculated move at a time. When I was young, my wife asked how to know people are not prejudiced. I told her when their sons and daughters can marry freely, without retaliation, then there's no prejudice. If he marries you, you have my blessing. Just ensure the first child is a strong boy. Winston smiles impassively. She wonders if he is joking. Surely he doesn't believe a mother can choose the sex of her child. Maybe he's nuts, but it's a long way off. She knows about using a centrifuge to separate sperm, given the arrangement and her genuine attraction to Paul. She agrees. Excellent. He pops a bottle of champagne and hands her a glass. She savors the floral hints and the fruity taste. Initially, Paul seems surprised at the security change. Adelina figures he wasn't expecting it. His father made her swear never to speak of their arrangement. Paul doesn't know about it and doesn't seem inclined to pursue personnel changes. Over the next week, she teases Paul mercilessly. Little peaks of skin, a touch here and there, bringing his mind out of its doldrums. Winston believes Paul will be a better businessman, if aroused. The young woman thinks the connection tenuous, but work is work. She jokes about being his pet and killer attack dog only once, but it jars something in his brain. Paul buys her a diamond-studded leather choker, the spikes and studs accentuating the diamond's beauty. She feels a tiny thrill when she opens the gift on her 10th day of service.
Now, that's more like it.
She smiles broadly and goes to the bathroom to try it on.
The damn thing has to be worth at least 35 grand.
Wisely, she leaves the door open, wondering if Paul has the guts to follow her. Under the harsh white lights, she removes her clothes and places the choker around her neck. Standing naked, she leans into the mirror and applies dark red lipstick. Her eyes narrow as she contemplates her reflection, determination and vulnerability flickering across her face. She feels a flutter of anticipation. A minute later, Paul enters, his expression a blend of surprise and desire. His eyes widen as he takes in the sight before him, swallowing hard to maintain composure. She turns to face him, her lips curling into a sly smile, satisfaction sparking in her eyes.
Well, Paul, I see you decided to join me.
Paul steps closer, his body language tense but intrigued, his heart pounding, his desire lighting up in his eyes. She could be his dog, as his dad put it, and he found her all on his own, a path out of the darkness of grief and despair. I couldn't resist, he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. His gaze locks onto hers, and for a moment, the room is charged with unspoken tension. She tilts her head slightly, her eyes never leaving his.
Good.
She replies, her tone dripping with confidence. The bathroom possesses a delicate rose scent. The bottle calls it Black Rose. As they stand there, the neon lights from outside cast an eerie glow on their faces, highlighting the intensity of the moment. The air is thick with anticipation, and the lines between power and vulnerability blur. She turns back to face the mirror and gives a sexy lewd grunt.
Stick it in me. Spear me, kind sir. Give me your iron pole.
He does. He grabs her hips and thrusts into her from behind. She howls with pleasure. She says,
This is what I'm made for. Hurrah!
then even gives him an excited bark. Her eyes roll back into her head. The woman loves having permission to be the aggressor, the seductress. He pounds for a few minutes and then breaks into tears. This is why he needed her. She stops first worried he is not ready. The grief still too much, and then knows now that she, Adelina, can heal him. Turning, she twists her leg over his shoulder to the other side and lifts his chin so their eyes lock. He tries to look away, but she holds him. He is hers. Adelina tells him,
You have held on to Marty for too long. It is time to move on. The world understands, and I can feel you understand.
her hips thrust.
Unlike that coward Marty, I will always be here for you and die at your side if a heated battle ever exists.
According to Winston, Adelina does not mention that if she did so, her family would receive 10 times the value of the 10-year contract as compensation for her service. The words are enough, and Paul renews his thrusts into her. Later, while visiting Gino's grave, when Winston hears the story, he glances at the sky, a dark, brooding expanse filled with the hum of drones and the distant glow of neon lights. The man delivering the information leaves Winston and returns to his car. Winston laughs, a deep, resonant sound that echoes through the cemetery. He says, "Gino, my son is a wimp." His voice carries both regret and amusement. "I should have beaten him, but your way has potential." Winston's sharp eyes reflect the dark world around him, a mix of real grass and the synthetic flower he places on the grave. Despite his chromosomally engineered child's flaws, the kid still has a chance. He just needs a little encouragement from his father. Shadows cast by skyscrapers dance across Winston's face, highlighting lines etched by years of business. His laughter fades, replaced by contemplative silence as he considers Gino's suggestions. Winston marches to the old Catholic church by the graves. Inside, Gino's widow sits in prayer. He joins her, holding her hand. The church air, thick with the scent of oil and decay from the cemetery, or maybe just his imagination, reminds him of progress and sacrifices made. Winston's expression shifts, a flicker of sadness crossing his features as he thinks of his son. The weight of his choices presses down. But in this world, survival often demands ruthless decisions. In the end, all things die. Winston gazes at the church ceiling. Neon lights from the city seep through stained glass, casting an eerie glow on his face. He repeats what he told Gino earlier. "Your way has potential." His voice, now a whisper, is carried away by the wind. In this world of shadows and secrets, he understands that sometimes the only way forward is to embrace the darkness within. A year and 5 months later, Daria enters her office at Earth Core. Her boss, Hanley Stevens, hologram jumps from her computer screen. Hanley says,
We have reason to believe there might be an attempt on one of the local senatorial candidates' lives this evening, Paul Jones. As you know, terrorism against politicians falls under our purview.
A file link flashes on the screen, and it has all the information Daria needs to cover the candidate. It seems clear where this is heading. Her boss is going to ask her to babysit Mr. Jones.
But doesn't the FBI or Secret Service handle these things better? It is better optics for the federal gov.
His father is a wealthy man, hence Earth core level, and they smuggle in some belief about potential terrorism. It seems unlikely, but it takes about half an hour to get there by tube. It is your job to keep him safe. He plans to give a speech tonight announcing his candidacy for the Senate.
Huh. On it, boss.
She grunts and leaves the office to sign out a light ion blaster. The LIB-9, often called the Liberator, is Earth Core's sole property and one of the few energy weapons in existence. Its small design allows it to be holstered under the black core suit. To a remake of Clash's This Is Radio Clash, Marguerite, a private dick, ties her red and black bandana over her head and bops out of Life Splice, an old punk revival bar. She met her friends Abigail and Amanda there to kill some time before confronting a vicious killer, who they plan to take down. As they swig another beer, an older lady hobbles up to them. The night air that permeates from outside is hot and humid. It hints of a coming rain.
How are you, Marguerite LeBove?
The skinny woman asks. The woman draws a small tin box of mints from her pocket.
Wintergreen. Do you want one? No? Who's asking?
Margaret focuses on the brown eyebrows of the older woman, noticing how they seem to be knitted and kneaded in frustration. With a sigh, she instantly recognizes the perfume, a cheap scent that becomes popular among policewomen trying to hang on to a bit of their femininity in a man-dominated field, despite their meager pay. Her eyes trail down to the woman's shoes. Birkenstock two-strap knockoffs. Margaret thinks.
Who tries to create a knockoff of sandals?
A smirk tugs at the corner of her mouth. Her brain continues to assess.
Worse yet, who in hell's name would buy them?
The woman shifts uncomfortably, her face a mask of weariness and determination. Margaret's gaze sharpens, taking in the tired lines etched into her skin, the slight tremor in her hands. The room's neon lights cast a harsh glow, highlighting the contrast between the polished high-tech environment and the woman's worn appearance. Margaret's thoughts race, a mix of disdain and pity swirling within her. The air is thick with tension, the distant hum of the city outside a constant reminder of the relentless grind. She crosses her arms, her posture rigid, exuding an aura of control and confidence. The woman's eyes meet hers, and for a moment they are locked in a silent battle of wills.
Detective, you're a long way from home.
The older woman narrows her eyes, a flicker of defiance in her gaze.
So are you, Marguerite. Let's cut the crap and get to the point.
Margaret leans back, a cold smile playing on her lips.
All right. What do you want?
The woman's expression hardens.
Answers.
Flashing bar lights cast umbra that dance across their faces. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in as the weight of their conversation presses down. Margaret's heart pounds in her chest, the thrill of the confrontation mingling with a deep-seated sense of foreboding. In this technocratic nightmare world, every change is a game of shadows, and Margaret is determined to come out on top. They stare at each other, but it is Abby who breaks the silence.
Sorry, officer. She is a goddamn breeder.
Abby's flirty voice bears an odd sweetness to it, and she rolls her hand over, showing her palm. Margaret has seen this type of behavior before in Abby, a clear grief reaction, having just lost her boyfriend, the taunting of sex used to cover the pain. Her predatory behavior serves as a personal mindfulness to recenter and improve the moment from the loss.
If you can dance, small spender, I'll take you to town, though.
A harsh glance comes from Abby's sister, Amanda. She makes the woman double take.
I mean, in a couple of damn hours. We got business to take care of right now.
The woman shoots Abby a scornful glance.
Of course. You probably got a good little lady at a gingerbread home with a white picket fence, stressing the fucking word white. And don't want to mess up a good thing, but I gotta ask you, can she cook? Because I can.
Abby's heart clenches as her mouth spouts about home, a suppressed wave of grief threatening to overwhelm her. She thinks,
Fuck this! I don't plan to go all damn self-reflective now. Just bury this shit girl and live life. You ain't rich, so you can't afford the luxury of getting down.
She fights to maintain her composure, her jaw tightening as she swallows the lump in her throat. Memories of the life she once had, now just a distant echo, flood her mind. The pain is raw, palpable. Suddenly, Amanda bursts out, her voice cutting.
No, you can't cook.
Normally stoic, Amanda's hands, imperceptible to everyone but Abby hands, shake as she wipes the black eye makeup over the clown white that covers her face. Her movements, slow, deliberate. As a hacker, Amanda knows the thrill-seeking hackers aren't merely navigating digital spaces. They're hunting, for purpose in a world that's forgotten how to care. Abby's eyes are filled with defiance and pain. The club's harsh neon lights casts a pall that dance across her features like a funeral cloth covering the casket. The words serve their purpose. They make Abby mad, and then Abby realizes this is her sister's play to help her regain control. Abby thinks,
Damn selective new bitch is always looking out for me.
Abby feels the sting of tears threatening to spill over, her grief now a tangible force pressing down on her. She takes a deep breath, pushing the sorrow back down, forcing herself to stay focused. The air between the twins is thick with tension, each word laden with unspoken feelings. Abby's eyes flicker with a suppressed sadness, her body language rigid, as if holding herself together by sheer willpower. Amanda's face a mask of clown white. In the background, the club's sound dominates the air. The twins stand there. The silence between stretches on, the weight of their emotions hanging heavy in the air. In this moment, the neon-lit room feels smaller, the walls closing in on their shared grief and unresolved tension. Abby grieves the loss of love, and Amanda grieves the pain her sister experiences. Abby's heart aches with a sorrow she struggles to contain, but she remains resolute, determined to push through the pain and confront whatever comes next. Breaking the tension, Abby chuckles and shouts,
God damn! She speaks. That's the longest line I heard from you all night. Hell, all week.
The subtext to the words is, I'm okay now, and possibly thank you for giving me some of your strength, but I'm not sure. Remembering that her parking time was soon due, Margaret opens her mega smartphone and finds the Atlanta parking app. Tapping a few buttons, she adds 30 minutes to her time.
I am Officer Jane Uprose from 6 Mile Island.
She interjects quickly, suppressing a bit of frustration from her face. Jane draws out a mint, tosses it into her mouth, as Margaret twists her lips to ponder. Her bionic arm flops around her hover and over her pocket. Inside it, she feels the tiny jade dragon she carries. Recently, she keeps it with her as a sort of totem. The dragon is the symbol of power and protection. Since the club, the bounty hunter feels she needs it. Abby interrupts.
We're a long way from 6 Mile Island, and my girl here doesn't need to talk to any police cunt. Please excuse my friend.
Margaret states apologetically as Amanda wipes her thick black mascara from her eyes. The shade blends into the clown white that covers her face. Abby reaches out to escort the group and the officer back inside the bar.
It's okay.
Jane replies, her face hints that she is weirded out by how this conversation is going.
Look, I got no beef with anyone here. I think what you girls are doing is incredible. I just wanted to find some information on a case of mine. No trouble.
The noise inside echoes and rings. Eloy play an awesome cover of an old Ramones song in the back.
Shit! Now I recognize you from the telly. You're that sidekick cop. We're part of the dirty bomb incident this afternoon. Crazy ass shit. It'll get you wet.
She makes an obscene gesture that Jane struggles to push off. Jane asks,
"You fucking with me?"
She hates cursing, but this woman gets her angry. Lots of people could have died in that attack today. Her critical eyes hardens.
"I am Marguerite, and would be glad to speak with you."
Her stomach tightens. Jane orders a glass of wine, and Abby says,
"Do you taste the fucking herbs or fruit first?"
Jane stares, dazed by Abby's question, and releases a small grunt. Part of her wonders if this is some sort of strange norming ritual in Abby's part, as Jane was the only one drinking wine, not beer.
"Enough of this melodrama. Peg! We don't work with no fucking pigs. Come on, guys. We have someplace to be. Business calls."
With a serious expression, the officer leaned across the table, vaping cartridge in hand, and then quickly drew back.
"Uncalled for. What is her damage? How the hell does a person end up like that?"
Jane mutters. Her face twists to one of confusion and disbelief. The switch from hot to cold left Jane numb.
"Mummy issues."
Amanda mumbles, but no one heard. Maybe she had not said it. Amanda often goes to speak, but her voice chose not to activate. This issue is personal to both the twins, as their mother wastes away in a home due to dementia.
"I did not say we would work with them. Besides, you used to be a cop."
Amanda's eyes transform into daggers, as it is clear Margaret had made a poor choice of words. Steadying herself, she tries to cut off her sister's coming rant.
"We had some trouble with the police a few years back." "Yeah, the fucking pigs wrongfully charged me and I lost my cushy job with the force. Bitches are all on the rolls of the fucking dealers." "Wait, aren't you two girls the ones that shot the corpo gun dealer Dax?" "Fuck no."
Abby states, and Amanda shrugs, the gesture exaggerated.
"We fried the fucker and then cut his ugly head off."
Amanda nudges her sister, whispering in her ear in pig Latin.
"Ixnay on the unfestion K."
Jane sucks on the mint.
"Bounty hunter's life is tough, and sounded like a rough takedown." "If by rough you fucking mean we almost lost our fucking lives, yes, it was rough, sweet pea."
Sensing the tension between the twins, Jane leaves that emotional baggage for later. For now, she wants to follow up on the case.
"Anyhow, I wanted to chat about this case. I believe you might have some information about Michael Buckley." "Who?" "I see."
She feels a warmth shoot up her back. It's the kind that comes with nausea followed by vomit.
"I see. Honestly, I can say I never met him." "Yes, ma'am, I know that is true, but I have some information you might have intended to meet with him. I don't want any trouble."
Inside, the bounty hunter feels the turmoil of avoidance. She has triggered a maze of complicated grief. There is something here, something she was trying to avoid thinking about. She struggles to put a finger on it.
"Bitch, could be sent here by the corpos to hit us."
Jane thinks the comment delusional, but lets it go.
"No trouble."
Jane raises her hand in a sign of surrender.
"Serious. His wife mentioned that he had a contact named Marguerite. She had no idea your last name, but a search through his inbox showed your name, Miss LeBeau. Your neighbor mentioned you would be here tonight."
It finally hits Margaret what this visit from the pig could be about. Around the time she killed a 15-year-old drug dealer who only went by the name of Mr. Squiggles, she contacted Mr. Buckley, claiming to have eyewitness accounts from within the Vigilante wars. In their correspondence, Michael advertised it as one of the day's biggest stories when the time came to break it. In which email, he described the situation. All she could do was roll her eyes.
"Please, ma'am. It's been a long day with the dirty bomb incident. I hoped we could have a cup of tea at dinner and speak."
Margaret shoots a glance at the twins, who shrug. Hell, this was about Paul. She hates the guy, and frankly, after what he did in starting the war and then to the robot who bore his child, well, he deserves it. She gives a twisted smile to the two. A clap of thunder echoes overhead. In a few minutes, rain will dance the streets.
My friends and I had a meeting.
Margaret glances at Jane's forlorn face. She quickly adds,
I guess I can give you 20 minutes.
Lana pulses with radiant energy, feeding off the collective psyche of over 1 million broken, fallible people. Paul feels interconnected to that vitality. Since dating Adelina, he has felt linked to the world for the first time since Marty died. He feels the sum of the city's ecology. Every kid at school, every person at church, every small business, multinational corporation, cannabis dispensary, seedy dating app, nightclub, bar, porn shop, website, and apartment. It's all a vibrant tapestry woven from people's hopes, fears, dreams, desires, and nightmares. Boldly, Paul plans to guide this tapestry with Adelina and his father. The electronic currents of the metropolis course through its neural channels, interlinked buildings in Lausea, creating a living, breathing entity, and he is part of it. Mega smart cell phones, radios, and televisions are advanced systems guided by algorithms to modify behavior and control users. Paul plans to design policies to liberate minds into a new evolutionary social direction. Under Atlanta lies a network of wires, fiber optics, and pipes. Above, advanced satellites relay information. Paul stares out his window as people cross a glass bridge connecting two hotels. The city is alive, thriving on human activity and the endless flow of digital information. Luminous signs beam in the rain-soaked streets, casting reflections on the puddles. Dark alleys buzz with hidden dangers, drug deals, and shadowy figures, their faces obscured by genetic alterations or cybernetic implants. The air is thick with ozone and metal, a reminder of the city's mechanical heart. Every heartbeat, secrets, and fleeting thought adds to its pulse, making it an inescapable force that sustains and consumes its inhabitants. The city's essence, his essence, is infused with raw, unfiltered emotions, powerful presence that never sleeps. Paul peers at the skyline, knowing soon it will be his to command. The skyline is a jagged silhouette, adorned with flashing advertisements promising escape, pleasure, and oblivion. In the underbelly, hackers navigate the digital ether, forging paths through firewalls, their eyes glinting with thrill. Beneath the luminous haze, the streets are a web of intrigue and deception. Paul's company, Runyon Blue, has created an AI to rout out problems. The end of the Vigilante war may be at hand due to his robotic creations and his political power. Now rain mixes with grime, washing away the sins of the day, revealing the stark reality of a world where securing loyalty is a daily battle. Atlanta's denizens move like ghosts, their lives intertwined with the circuitry binding them to the urban labyrinth. In the city's underbelly, rogue AIs plot in the shadows. Luminous signs flicker and buzz, illuminating a backdrop where shadowy figures clad in trench coats and augmented reality glasses exchange encrypted data and back-alley deals. Their faces are often hidden, shrouded by digital interfaces. Atlanta is a paradox of past and present, a dreamscape where reality and illusion blur, and every shadow hides a story. It's a place where the human spirit clashes with technological surveillance, and where every soul is both a prisoner and a poet. In the neon-lit night, punctuated by hollow ads and surveillance drones. The red eyes scan to alert Earth Corps and local police of rebellion or deviation as rain pours down, mingling with blood and oil on the streets. It's a grim reminder of survival's price and eventual destruction. As the planet grows hotter, the electric currents snaking through Atlanta's veins are both a lifeline and a prison, connecting every inhabitant to the omnipresent network that watches and controls. This is where dreams and nightmares collide, with religions and capitalist ideologies in a relentless pursuit of power, freedom, and identity. The city's energy isn't just a physical force, it's an emotional maelstrom. Each neon glow, each shadowy alley reverberates with struggles and passions. The luminous signs taunt the desperate with unreachable desires. In every heartbeat, secret, and thought powers this metropolis. There's a shared human experience, collective gasp of longing, loss, hope, and despair. The city weaves lives into its fabric, creating a complex tapestry of existence. This is a place where hearts blur in a symphony of survival and ambition to support one man, Paul Jones. Today is his baptism into the political world, his chance to advance the community into a new age of technological enlightenment. On a miniature smart speaker, "My Way" by Frank Sinatra plays softly, casting a nostalgic glow over the dimly lit room. Winston Jones, known as Pappy to his friends, hums along, his eyes fixed on his only son, Paul. Next to Paul sits his security guard and lover of the last 8 months, Adelina Di Giacomo, her eyes scanning the room with a cold, calculated precision. Pappy's heart swells with pride as he watches the boy, who finally got his act together. It only took a few unfortunate bodies along the way for the kid to get it right. Such are the problems for those destined for power. He glances over at Adelina and flashes his broadest grin, a glint of mischief in his eyes. The tense room settles, knowing the time approaches. Like disenchanted lovers, the scent of cigar smoke playfully mingles with underlying stench of betrayal. Paul gathers all the materials needed to launch his campaign for the open Georgian Senate seat on Capitol Hill. It's about time someone stood up for those consistently made out to be the bad guy and kicked down big business. In Pappy's mind, his little boy is the perfect candidate for the challenge. Tonight, Paul will get the nod from the party boss's men with shadows darker than the night itself. The boy will be a shoo-in with unlimited funding he can raise from Pappy's friends, powerful figures who operate in the city's underbelly. Strolling close to his son, Pappy ties his bow tie, a proud smile playing on his lips. Adelina's eyes meet Pappy's for a brief moment, her expression unreadable. In this world of crime and ambition, loyalty is a luxury few can afford. She knows the stakes are high, and she's ready for whatever comes next. The game is on, and there's no turning back. "I am proud of you, kid." He gazes into his son's face, and straightening the lapels on his tuxedo, then extends his hand around Paul's head and draws him in for a hug. Winston pulls back and then wipes a tear from his eyes. The mess with the robot was a real embarrassment. Hell, we all have our ups and downs, but tonight, that is all behind us. Tonight begins your quest to become king. Anguish plasters Paul's face as he waves a dismissive hand. "It's hard for me to put that behind me, Pops. If only Barton were here with me now." Pappy sighs. He hopes his grandson could have officially joined the Jones clan, but the rogue robot who gave birth to the child wanted to keep the baby all to herself. There is a time for grandchildren later. I still have DNA to work with, and cloning labs are everywhere now. He glances again at Adelina. He knows his son is having an affair with her. Hell, he paid for it. Pappy hopes she will mark her turf.
I don't think he needs DNA from the dead. Paul is such a strong and forceful man. I am sure he can find a living person to bear his children.
She reaches over and grabs Paul's hand. His face beams from her touch.
Besides, we must ensure he is safe tonight as he speaks.
Safe on many levels. We have that person. You know, the one. The former cam girl in the quack house. Cassidy Rabbit? Rabbit? Yes, the bunny. She is spreading all kinds of malicious words there. She says she had a brother who knew evil things about Paul. He let out a grunt of disgust and then twisted to nod towards Miss DiGiacomo. Adelina, did you know my friend Gino?
I never had the pleasure of meeting him, sir. I saw him several times at the building, but it was years ago.
He was quite the man. He was very loyal. About 30-odd years ago, I had a problem with a factory. The woman running it became very industrious. She was a pip. She found a way to make our snack bars cheaper. Of course, she did this by switching out one of the food processing chemicals to impress me and replacing it with another. Paul nods his head. He's heard this story and many others of Gino's loyalty before. He decides to interrupt. The chemical she switched it out to was one of the FDA bandits' cancer, causing. She had no way of knowing, and it took 6 months for my dad to catch it. He sent Gino down to clean things up, and he did. He switched back the chemicals. One of the guys that the FDA was investigating, Gino went and paid off his boss. The investigator had an accident and unfortunately died. But Gino was great in making sure no mention of this ever made the press, nor did it ever wind up leaking into the public. We were spared having to do a costly recall, which could have bankrupted us.
And the woman.
Chuckling, Paul jumps in. At first, my father was furious. He had asked Gino to fire her, but Gino balked. He said my dad should meet this woman before kicking her to the curb. Pappy interrupts. I asked him to purchase a ticket and send her to meet with me. I planned to fire her, and I did.
So, she was tossed out.
Winston frowns. Well, yes and no. When they met, her initiative and logic impressed Pappy so much that after he fired her, he asked her out. 2 years later, they married. She was my mother. Father and son chuckle. Truly, you don't get friends like that anymore. Poor Gino. I hope afterlife is treated him with respect and love. A strange smile crosses Adelina's face. She excuses herself, saying she needs time to check on her mother. The poor woman is under the weather, but assures Paul that she will return for his speech and be right at his side. Paul rises and takes her by the hand. He walks her to the door. As he turns, his father stands behind him. His father grins. Well, my future senator, let's show them. By the way, I picked up a little bargaining chip. I'm sorry, what? Paul lifts a glass of wormwood brandy from the table, swirling the amber liquid before taking a deep gulp. His eyes betray a flicker of the shadows that haunt him. His father, Pappy, watches with pride and sorrow. He thinks, we all have demons that haunt us. It's good to see Paul learning to live with his pain. Pappy's mind shifts to Adelina, her presence a cold, steady force in the room. Hopefully Adelina will help, he muses. But even if she doesn't, things will improve for his boy over time. The weight of past losses hangs heavily in the air, a silent reminder of the sacrifices made. Briefly, he remembers the mistake of pushing Earth Core to invade Butterfly City because of suspected genetically enhanced beings serving as terrorists creating a dirty bomb. They marched from end to end of the megalopolis, no bomb, and the 354 lives lost. But that is the past. A mistake. So many mistakes. His heart feels a pang of regret, but he lives with it every day. Pappy reassures himself. It will get easier to live with the losses of life. Paul will become one to clean up all the social strife. The hotel room is thick with unspoken tension, the undercurrents of ambition weaving through their lives. Paul sits down the glass, determination hardening his features. He knows the path ahead is fraught with scrutiny, but he's ready to confront the lingering ghosts of his past. That woman on the video before the bus went up? I had an investigator do some looking into her. The investigator dropped me a line that, by chance, she discovered that the woman on the video was in the club the night. Well, the night your friends were shot. I think she might be one who is going to go on the Buckley show. Woman in the video? Yes, the woman outside the bus was Margaret LeBove. The woman in the club. She was some bounty hunter. I am unsure if she was responding to get the bounty or trying to help the Marty robot. Either way, I have ensured she will not get in the way tonight. Ah, Paul winks. So, is she going to have an accident? He places the highball glass back on the table. More like, everything is up for sale. So I got us an insurance policy. She will not surface tonight. Feeling the color drain from his face, the son glares at his father to indicate he should behave himself, and then turns, raises a hand, waves, and strolls off. As Paul exited the room, the office administrator stops him. Mr. Jones, sir. Yes, Beatrix. A woman has arrived on the first floor. She claims to be from Earth Core. She says her job is to serve as your bodyguard for tonight. Paul's face flushes. I don't need a bodyguard. I already have Miss D. Giacomo, he insisted. Tell her... Never mind. I'll go tell her myself. The four head to a tiny jazz bar after Jane protests that the club would be too loud to talk. Abby thrusts open the double onyx entry doors. The brick-walled place is sparsely decorated. 3 to 4 chairs circle each table. The wine selection is decent, and the smells are decadent. When Jane breaches the subject of Paul, Margaret flinches. Her face shifts from frustration to disgust. Her eyes dart around the room, as if searching for an escape. Jane inquires what the matter is, but Abby explains.
Post the robot incident? She had some weird-ass form of fucking PTSD. She dreams of Paul and her, locked in a duel to the death. Only he wins. Crazy-ass shit, right?
Margaret's hands tremble slightly, and she clenches them into fists to steady herself. Her breathing quickens, and she fights to keep her emotions in check. The dim light casts shadows on her face, highlighting the tension etched into her features. Abby's words hang in the air, a stark reminder of the trauma Margaret can't escape. Jane's gaze softens, a flicker of empathy crossing her face. She reaches out, placing a hand on Margaret's arm. Jane's voice is gentle but firm, as she says,
We'll get through this. Together.
Margaret nods, swallowing hard. The weight of her nightmares presses down on her, but the support of her friends offers a glimmer of hope. The jazz bar's melancholic tunes provide a fitting backdrop to their shared struggle, a reminder that even in the darkest times, they are not alone. As the conversation continues, Margaret's mind drifts back to the incident, flashbacks of the robot's cold, unfeeling eyes, and the sound of metal clashing against metal flood her senses. She blinks rapidly, trying to dispel the images, but they linger, haunting her every thought. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in as the weight of her memories presses down on her. Abby notices the change in Margaret's demeanor and squeezes her hand reassuringly. "You're stronger than you think," she whispers, her voice filled with conviction. Margaret takes a deep breath, grounding herself in the present. The jazz bar's warm, inviting atmosphere contrasts sharply with the cold, sterile memories that plague her. She knows the road to healing is long and arduous, but with her friends by her side, she feels a renewed sense of determination. Together, they will face the darkness and find a way to move forward. Margaret whispers,
"No need. I am over them. Indeed, when I got word that he was planning to have a press conference tonight, the girls would serve as my backup when I confronted him with everything I learned from his friends that night at the dance club. Well, they say the best revenge and all."
Jane's eyes flick to Margaret's hips before she speaks.
"Is everything okay with you?"
Feeling a buzz, Margaret reaches for her side and whips out her phone.
"Excuse me. I must take this. It's my sister. She has custody of my daughter, Anna."
Cheerily, Margaret presses the touch glass, and a three-dimensional image of her sister appears.
"Hey, Noemi."
Margaret waltzes away. Behind her, she hears Abby ranting about every time business happens. Naomi's voice strains, and instantly, Margaret knows something is wrong.
"Hey, sis. I need you to come over. Something happened at the school today, and Anna didn't come home." "What do you mean she didn't come home?"
Panic seethes inside Margaret, her heart pounding.
"Well, just that. I've been at the school all evening. The police are here. Did she go to your place?"
Margaret's gut wrenches in pain.
"No, not my place. I'll come to you. Where are you?" "We're at my place with the police. I keep looking over the school footage. It seems like some person walked up to her, and they wandered off together." "Shit! I told her never to go off with strangers."
Margaret's voice shakes with rage, masking the terror that grips her. Her kid is gone. It feels like her soul has been transported to hell, and the fire of worry now burns it. Naomi pleads.
"Just get here. On my way."
Margaret insists, hanging up and spinning back to the table. Their eyes tell her they heard her conversation.
"Guys, we need to put this confrontation thing off another night." "Sure as shit. I'll take you and your board to your sister's if you want." "No, I already am a killjoy. I can get there on the old Abcoke."
Margaret's eyes fill with fear, determination, and anger as she prepares to leave. Her body tense and her movements hurried. The weight of the situation bears down on her, but she steels herself for what lies ahead. It is purely a stroke of luck that Adelina Di Giacomo has trained with Chris Ross nearly 10 years earlier as a security guard. They have kept in touch on and off since then, and Adelina knows the woman has a tight financial situation, much like Adelina did before Winston took her under his umbrella. Now, Adelina can hardly believe her luck finding Lieutenant Ross, a critical prison security team member. She video calls the woman and arranges to meet her for lunch that very day. They talk for nearly 20 minutes, catching up on old times and reminiscing about the rules they broke together. Then Adelina switches the conversation to the rabbit problem. as Winston refers to it. Adelina decides it is time to discuss an equitable arrangement to end the problem.
I've got something I want to ask you. Off the record.
Adelina bounces and airdrops 25,000 credits to Chris. Chris smiles, but Adelina can see the tension in her eyes.
Just hear me out. Wow, it must be important.
Chris's voice fills with surprise.
You just sent me $25K like it was nothing. Welcome to the big leagues. That's just to listen. If you say no, well, keep the money. If you say yes, well, I have a lot more. Is this something illegal? I hate to do something illegal and lose my job.
Chris runs her hand nervously through the ends of her long blonde hair.
Besides, if they ever convicted me and sent me to a place like this, well, let's just say a bunch of people would have a ton of scores to settle. It is about a prisoner here, Cassidy Buckley. We were both quite adept at breaking the rules, remember?
The words fluster Chris, and she fidgets in her seat.
I was more of a risk taker then. Now I'm older. I've got a family. Is it just beating her up? No, I need her out of the picture. Maybe an accident or suicide.
Adelina watches the worry spread across Chris's face. She knows asking someone to kill another person is outside the moral code of most, even someone with a violent temper like Chris.
No one will know.
Chris's eyes roll upward as if she is pondering.
I don't think we could pull that off.
She finally says, her voice filled with doubt.
Well, if you cannot, you cannot. But I have a powerful friend. I am sure this person would be willing to provide generous compensation for you.
Chris breaks into a stream of consciousness, indicating to Adelina that the woman is considering. Sweat pools on the officer's forehead.
God, this is so frightening. I never did anything like this before. Besides, it is probably impossible to pull off. Miss Cassidy, Rabbit Buckley, is stationed in the psychological recovery unit. She had a suicide attempt early in her stay as she dealt with the death of her brother. I would not be able to get to her. I would need to bring in a second person. As I said, I have a very generous friend. How does 250,000 for you and your friends sound? Wow, that would be enough to retire on. I could pay off the house and a bunch of other debts. I can see you are considering.
Adelina nudges. Chris bites her lip.
And if I got caught, which you will not.
No sense in letting the woman spiral into what-ifs.
But if I did, my family would be taken care of. I think that can be arranged for strategic money to be donated to them through a charity page. Why that way? We could make it look like a charitable donation so others will not question it. You know, like a GoFundMe. Are you doing this for the guy you work for? The one who wants to be a senator? Oh, God, are you dating him?
Adelina thinks.
Complicated question.
She and Chris were raised in families and had friends where winning and holding the guy was the top goal. All is fair in love and war was the old saying, but it was much more profound with the crowd they ran with. The view was a woman's most significant jump up the economic ladder came from her snagging a man, and anything that would aid in that would be feasible. Ask me no questions. It was the beginning of an old expression that Chris knew well. Chris clenches her jaw, and then twisted her lips as if thinking.
Cassidy had microsurgery to enhance control of her frontal lobes by lessening some of her desire centers. Also, they gave her a stem cell treatment to increase the cell density and replace some of the weaker areas of her frontal lobe. The prison has 3 goals the psychological staff works on. Goals around adjustment to the prison environment, post-prison reductions in behaviors, to keep them out, and crisis intervention to keep them from killing themselves or someone else while in. She is in the hospital cells. Suicide would be believable. These sorts of interventions occasionally fail, but it would be tough to get to her. It is an infirmary cell after all. So impossible to pull off? Now, I didn't say that. I might need some money to get others to look the other way. And at least 2 other people to help, maybe even her treating psychotherapist. Money can be arranged,
Adelina offers. While not directly on Cassidy's block, Chris knows the people who are enough to be able to get what needs to be done, done. Exiting the elevator, Paul sees a largely nondescript Asian female in a Black Earth Corps uniform. She approaches him, her expression serious.
Mr. Jones, I am Lieutenant Daria Sarandorge. I did not expect you to come down here yourself. I am deeply sorry you have done so. This place is not secure.
Paul's eyes narrow, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. I have walked the halls of this building my entire life. It is safe for me. Daria's tone remains firm, though. Her eyes reveal her disagreement. She knows this assignment is tough, but her duty requires that this man be kept alive tonight to make his announcement. From the file, she gleaned that many people had reason to take him out, and she wants to be confident that safety is the order of the day. Actually, I just came down to tell you that I have personal security and will not need your service tonight.
Sir, your father and several business allies requested that EarthCorps protect you this evening. Besides, where is your security now? I mean, they let you come down here all alone?
Paul's jaw tightens, the flash of irritation in his eyes. My security needed to run a brief errand, which is none of your damn business. I trust my current security with my life. She is incredible. Daria reads the underlying tension in his voice, sensing that Paul's relationship with his security personnel is more than just professional. She thinks.
Well, no sense belaboring that point.
Her eyes lock on Paul, unflinching in their gaze.
I'm sorry, sir, but I cannot let you out of my sight. You can call my supervisor, but I tend to agree with your father that your life is at risk. What could it hurt to have 2 women taking care of you?
Paul feels a weird thrill at the choice of words. Did she mean it as he heard it? Probably not. Was this some odd Earth Corps trick to disarm his defenses? Maybe. He briefly imagines the woman in a micro bikini, feeling a surge of satisfaction that no one knows what happens in another person's mind. Paul thinks, I am a wealthy and powerful man. I need to get used to attractive women flirting with me. I can make her life so much better than Earth Corps. A brief thrill followed by guilt for thinking disloyal of Adelina floods Paul. He huffs. Fine, but keep out of my way. I would rather you not be seen or heard. Do you understand? Can you do your job in silence?
For the most part, but it might reach a point where, for your protection, I will need you to listen.
Paul's eyes narrow, combining frustration and resignation. He nods curtly, his body language tense. The neon lights outside cast an eerie glow on their faces, highlighting the intensity of the moment. The air is thick with unspoken tension, each of them aware of the high stakes and the dangers lurking in the shadows. Retying her red bandana, Margaret jumped on her Abe Coke and sped to her sister's house. The girls offered to give Jane a ride and meet her there. They came 10 minutes behind Margaret. Distressed, Naomi and her husband, Armando, kissed Margaret on each cheek, drew up the video surveillance tape on their 80-inch television, and handed the bounty hunter 3-dimensional viewing glasses.
Thanks. Let me examine the videos and I might be able to find something. I got some friends behind me. They should be rolling up in a few minutes.
While she places them on, Abby and Amanda's vehicle, the shipmobile, as they called their 12-year-old self-driving Tesla 5th-generation Cybertruck, for its brown color and frequent breakdowns, arrives. As with most Tesla products, Margaret feels unsure that the creation of this vehicle is not some sort of stock scam. The woman hops out along with Jane, whom they have transported. After a brief but frantic discussion to catch the others up, Margaret slumps onto the couch and plays the video of the kidnappings. Every minute counts. Thus far, no demand calls have been received. Margaret prays it is not a sex offender. A subset of these creeps often kills victims after abusing them. She has a visceral reaction, waves of fear causing her arms to jerk back, and terror radiates over her spine. Sitting next to Margaret, Jane tries to focus on the images to see if she can pick up any helpful information about the kidnapping. There has to be something to indicate who the kidnappers are and why they took the child. Plates on the truck are blocked. The make and model are easy to identify. While difficult to detect, Jane notices a dent on the side door. She has Margaret enlarge the frame. It is clear the van has had an accident. Since the van is only 3 years old, she searches police records for the same type of van in an accident. Tapping her handheld, Jane asks Margaret if she can air copy the video. The desperate mother agrees, and Jane taps into the 6 Mile Police Department AI to aid her in her search for information. The AI system is thorough and lightning fast. Jane's search discovers a different colored van, but the same make and model, involved in a high-speed motor pileup and an exit near I-285, which forms a beltway around the city just 8 months earlier.
Let me see if I can get the plate from the accident record. So, we got a lead. We might have a lot fucking more than a lead.
Abby insists. The group circles her.
Fucking Cop City guys. I get you hate cops.
Margaret starts, but is quickly interrupted.
No, wait. My genius sister is right. City is surveillance heavy with CT cameras. And if we run the plate of the van through, it might be able to track it down. Bitch just called me a genius. That is why I fucking love her. Especially when we are on the same page.
Paul prepares his speech to echo in the bunnyman's Lips Like Sugar, playing softly in the background. Adelina pops into his room, her presence immediately commanding attention. Daria waits by the door, her expression stern.
Give us a minute,
Adelina says to Daria. The woman, whom Adelina quickly despises, glances up at Paul. He nods, and she leaves the room. Walking close to Paul, Adelina touches his brownish blonde messy layered hair with a fringe. She arches up on the tips of her toes to kiss him, and then moves to his ear. Her hot, breathy voice is on his neck. Then she flips his earlobe with her tongue and whispers in it.
I stayed up last night and made you this special vid.
She taps her phone to his for the transfer.
It is of the bitch in that porn game. I broke her like you asked. It shows me gratifying myself while I did so. And I sent you the cutscene as well. I know you will love it.
Paul stares in shock. He was joking when he made the comment, but she did it. He thinks, God, trashy and loyal. I am falling for this one. His heart races. Paul's thick lips slide back, and a broad grin crosses his face. I know I will. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Paul worries it might be early to say, but what the hell? Adelina places a finger to his lips and says,
Shh. I figured you could watch it.
Paul nods as she caresses his cheek.
While I finish some business for your father.
Paul flinches. This could be bad. Nervous, Paul inquires, what sort of business? He worries about the things his father could do.
Nothing really. He just asked me to order a cake for this evening.
Breathing a sigh of relief, Paul asks, "What kind?"
It is a 4-tier Italian creme rum cake from Plastino's Cakes. It was one of Gino's favorites.
"I have loved that place and the same family for over 100 years," Paul states while he regains his composure. He kisses her lips, and her hands feel his chest. But making a sad sigh, she draws back. "Don't worry about me. I always got my sleeve pistol if something happens." Adelina laughs. Paul carries a small concealed pistol in his jacket. He fancies it a gun he could slide out as a last resort to protect himself. But the weapon is from the bygone era, and he is an okay shot at best. She leans in and kisses his lips, and when close, so no one else can see, flashes him a bit of skin. Her life experience has taught her that if you flash your men at random intervals, it keeps interest. She states,
Well, you got a speech to edit and a video to watch. I got boring cake stuff to check in on. So I'll return in an hour or two.
With one last brush along his lips, Adelina sighs, pivots, and marches back to her room. Inside, she withdraws her Mega Smart Pad from her desk, powers it up. Her Mega Smart Pad screen, fed by a tiny camera on Chris's jacket lapel, Adelina watches Chris drive her 9-year-old budget EV. Before Adelina received a promotion at work, she drove a similar model. The efficiency and handling are good, but she curses the car's lack of power. Adeline mumbles to herself.
It's time to kill the rabbit.
About 4 blocks away, Adelina spots the primary prison structure. The brutalist-style cinder-block prison complex called Quantum Correctional Facility is like the proverbial camel, a horse built by a committee. The structure and surrounding area suggest it is built by conflicting interests. Indeed, it is with prison advocates searching for better solutions, inhumane treatment and rehabilitation clashing with those who desire strong sentences and punishment for offenders. Politics rarely help anyone feel they obtain justice in the system. Police lights swirl at the top of the facility, the blues illuminating the vast open area around the prison. A white arc light bathes the fence, guiding workers' cars on the road inside. Several prisoners, the more trusted men, work in the yard, aiding with the landscaping. They are there to learn a skill as part of their rehabilitation while earning extra money from federal prison industries. As some of the men struggle with basic problem solving around removing a tree stump, it is clear from their awkwardness that they are not thinkers.
This place cures a person of any belief in a master criminal,
Chris says aloud for Adelina to hear when one of the men slips into a small hole next to the stump. She chuckles, and Adelina giggles. Embedded in its surroundings by greening and painting the building in green and brown colors to match the environment, the prison's second cell block area appears more like a natural fit. Directly behind the brutalist primary building, this postmodern building is offset and inhibited by an electric dark steel barbed wire fence and steel barred windows. Drones with highly saturated yellow and blue plastic exteriors hover around the wall, patrolling the perimeter, ready to gun down any prisoner who dares try to escape. The entrance of the building appears like a reception area with 3 large red fire-resistant couches, with both massage and deep heating functions surrounding a large screen television for viewing on the red brick wall. Prison architects and interior designers create an atmosphere that is welcoming to visitors. It sports what is referred to as a calming mist. The aerosol spray releases a chemical mist that aids in keeping the offenders happy, or at least pleasant, but not sedate. Several psychiatrists monitor the mist daily to ensure it lowers aggression. Soft music is piped into the waiting area, and only the prisoners who make their way up the level system are allowed to play this close to the doors. The goals and designers and reformists are all balanced between external electronic control and internal control, as well as independence and self-reliance of the offender. Scientists have studied components of such programs for close to a century, and the state works on them as much as possible in the design. Usually, the reason for the failure of integration is political blowback that the prison is too cushy or not punishment-oriented enough to satisfy the groups and the families of victims' need for vengeance. This is often fed into by a private prison industry, which makes a fortune on minimal effort for prisoners and keeps reform to a crawl. The tension in the air is palpable, like a heart beating as Adelina keeps her eyes glued to the screen, her fingers tapping nervously on the side of her mega smart pad. She knows that one misstep could jeopardize everything. The neon lights outside flicker, casting an eerie glow on her determined face. This is a world where every second counts, and Adelina is ready for Chris to deliver.
Advocates fostered the concept that the prison stage should be based on trust. Instead of earning privileges, prisoners start their program in a regime with many liberties. So, they don't earn them anymore?
Adelina asks through the smart pad.
Some they have to, but the base liberties are all given. They can lose them, but mostly they are given to start, and a good number hold them through their stay. The behaviorists used to call it a level system. Interesting.
Adelina picks up a can of honeydew bubble tea and snaps open the tab.
You know what I find more interesting? Is that inmates can prolong their stay in prison voluntarily. Who would do that?
Adelina says, and then gulps her tea. She enjoys the little round strawberry boba pearls bursting in her mouth, filling it with flavor.
Mostly the homeless ones. 3 hots and a cot. It keeps them from going out and committing crimes to get back. They always say it is for more rehabilitation, but, for some, it is safer than sleeping in a halfway house or worse, having no place to go. You guys have a ton of open ground,
Adelina says while stuffing part of her sisig in her mouth and letting the taste sit on her tongue for as long as she can.
We do. From a normalization perspective, the architects were ordered to organize imprisonment as open as possible. This will help us to get access to Cassidy.
From her mega smart pad screen, fed by a tiny camera on Chris's jacket lapel, Adelina watches Chris drive her 9-year-old budget EV before Adelina received her promotion at work. She drove a similar but older model. The efficiency and handling are good, but she curses the car's lack of power. A knot of anxiety tightens in her stomach, knowing how crucial this mission is. About 4 blocks away, Adelina spots the primary prison structure. The brutalist-style cinder-block prison complex called Quantum Correctional Facility looms ominously. The structure and surrounding area suggest it is built by conflicting interests, a mix of prison advocates and hardliners. Police lights swirl at the top of the facility, casting an eerie blue glow over the open area around the prison. A white arc light bathes the fence, guiding workers' cars on the road inside. Adelina's pulse quickens, the gravity of the situation settling in. Chris chuckles when one of the men slips into a small hole next to the stump, but her laughter is tinged with nervousness. Embedded in its surroundings by greening and painting the building in green and brown colors to match the environment, the prison's second cell block area appears more like a natural fit. Directly behind the brutalist primary building, this postmodern building is offset and inhibited by an electric dark steel barbed wired fence and steel barred windows. Drones with highly saturated yellow and blue plastic exteriors hover around the wall, patrolling the perimeter, ready to gun down any prisoner who dares try to escape. Adelina's heart races, the high-tech surveillance adding to her unease. The entrance of the building appears like a reception area with 3 large red fire-resistant couches, with both massage and deep heating functions, surrounding a large screen television for viewing on the red brick wall. Prison architects and interior designers create an atmosphere that is welcoming to visitors. It sports what is referred to as a calming mist. The aerosol spray releases a chemical mist that aids in keeping the offenders happy, or at least pleasant, but not sedate. Several psychiatrists monitor the mist daily to ensure it lowers aggression. Soft music is piped into the waiting area, and only the prisoners who make their way up the level system are allowed to play this close to the doors. The juxtaposition of comfort and control sends a chill through Adelina, a stark reminder of the stakes. The goals of designers and reformists are balanced between external electronic control and internal control, as well as the independence and self-reliance of the offender. Scientists have studied components of such programs for close to a century, and the state works on them as much as possible in the design. Usually, the reason for the failure of integration is political blowback that the prison is too cushy or not punishment-oriented enough to satisfy the groups and the families of victims' need for vengeance. This is often fed into by a private prison industry, which makes a fortune on minimal effort for prisoners and keeps reform to a crawl. Adelina's frustration with the system boils beneath her calm exterior. Every decision here tinged with ethical dilemmas. The industrial labyrinth of the prison is a maze with hundreds of stairs. Its high ceiling, fluorescent lighting, and mist give the place an ominous vibe. The color scheme is dark blue, powered by renewable energy. The prison has a complete air recycling system that purifies all the rooms in the complex, so the prisoners do not develop respiratory issues. Managers noted that outbreaks would spread like wildfire in the prison in the previous century. Sleek modular units are connected into a large circular structure. Smart infrastructure is AI monitored in search of patterns that may signify escape. Due to the modular design, the configuration changes quickly, allowing for shifting if any word is received about escape plans. As general escape prevention, the prison layout shifts once a month. There is a lower level for the assembly of prisoners and an upper walkway for the guards. 2 elevator platforms bring the prisoners up and down. It is all past the metal detectors just ahead of Chris. Adelina holds her breath. The next few minutes passing through the detectors and then moving through the prison are critical in the operation. Her palms are sweaty, fingers gripping the Mega-Smart pad tightly. The tension in the air is palpable, each step echoing ominously in the dimly lit corridors. The neon lights outside cast an eerie glow, highlighting the stark contrast between the sterile prison environment and the gritty world beyond. Chris's heart pounds as she navigates the labyrinth, every movement scrutinized by the AI-powered surveillance system. Failure is not an option. Too much rides on this mission. Adelina's anxiety mingles with a steely resolve. She knows they must succeed, no matter the cost. As they approach the metal detectors, Adelina offers a reminder.
Remember to remove the pin and toss it into the display. Then drop your jacket over it. The plastic around it should shield its microcircuits from detection. It will appear as solid when it goes through the scanning machine.
Chris nods, feeling a bit foolish. On the other side of the scanner, Chris waves at the guard. He waves back, and she knows things are okay with the setup for killing Cassidy. The guard who waved announces, "Something is wrong with the cameras today." Adelina allows herself a second joy as everything proceeds as planned. With a small bribe to maintenance, taking down the cameras to reboot the system was much easier than expected.
Okay, I'll make a note of it in my logs. I want to visit the cryopods, then finish some paperwork to give and speak with my supervisor. And then the infirmary.
This is part of the plan, except for the infirmary. This is Chris's typical pattern for the day. The less out of the ordinary, the better the chances of success. She can always stop at the nursing station in the infirmary and ask for some ibuprofen as an excuse for her presence there. As Chris passes through several gates, Adelina notices that biometric identification is used for security guards and moved from section to section. Chris places her hand on the glass panel, and the wall slides back. If the biometric data fails, Chris usually has to ring a buzzer, and a guard watching her movement would buzz her through. If such a failure occurs today, it would be difficult to move, and a guard might have to be sent since the camera system in the area she is heading to is down. She moves through a cell block, and it is clear to Adelina that most cells have holographic entertainment systems. The cryopods are for prisoners who commit violations and are temporarily sent to cryogenic suspension. The deep freezing cryotubes lie at the lowest level of the complex's arcology. As happens at least once or twice a month, Chris has several prisoners moved there early in the week to cool off. Chris visits briefly, meets with her supervisor, and completes some of her logs. The meeting is not long, and then she goes off to perform the only deed Adelina cares about. Cassidy Rabbit Buckley. Cassidy is sentenced to the Virtual Reality Rehabilitation Center. The behavior modification program runs her through 30 scenarios daily and provides reinforcers and punishers for her decisions and performance, including her interactions. Specialized behavior chain analysis is conducted with behavioral psychologists, focusing on the function of behaviors at each step in the chain. The intention is to help the prisoner learn to build self-control in the behavior stream, to avoid problematic behavior and enhance their chances of success. Since she is still in the infirmary for her suicide attempt and surgery, the rehabilitation center work is transferred to this unit. She wears the VR headset as Chris and her companion enter the room. Catching her off guard, they move swiftly with chloroform. The woman barely kicks twice before she lays unconscious. The room has no sheets, and the mattress is designed to prevent suicide. They quickly move to make it appear that Cassidy has ripped wires out of the rehabilitation machine to hang herself with. The rabbit dangles and kicks within a few minutes as the chloroform wears off. She can't free herself. The metallic tang of disinfectant fills the air, mingling with the scent of fear that permeates the room. The cold, sterile environment contrasts sharply with the dark deed unfolding. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows, heightening the tension and adding to the dark atmosphere. Rabbit's legs continue to twitch and kick. Adelina's heart races, her breath shallow, as she watches the scene play out on her Mega Smart pad. It would only be a few more minutes now, as the rabbit's eyes bulged out of her head. Every second feels like an eternity. The weight of their actions pressing down on Adelina. She watched Cassidy's face go from pink to blue to an ashen gray. The vibrating prison's machinery is a constant reminder of the high stakes and the dangers that lurk in every corner of this prison, where life is cheap to guards who need cash. Finally, it was done. Adelina breathes a sigh of relief. This is one problem that would not come back to haunt her paw.
Thank your team for me, and I have crypto accounted your money for yourself and them. We aim to please.
While Abby and Amanda work on finding the present location of the van, Margaret frantically searches with Jane through DMV records to find who owns it. The initial search shows that a holding company called Swift Cookies is the owner. This company quickly passes into 17 different holding companies, and finally, they end up with Diamond 7 as the company. Margaret's heart pounds as she notes the corporate board appears fake. She bypasses the board and determines the owner might have been just one person. Getting permission to pierce a company's corporate veil is hard in court. Still, in practicality, with so much information on the internet and the assistance of AI, she discovers the company belongs to a recently deceased man, Gino Sabatino. Heartbroken at this dead end, Margaret views the photos from the funeral. One shows an old man she recognizes in the crowd. Her heart sinks. A second picture has the man dropping a flower on the grave. It is Winston Jones. She ponders if this connection has anything to do with her daughter's disappearance or if it is entirely by chance.
We gotta move. Absolutely.
Jane says, her voice tinged with urgency, her eyes betraying a flicker of anxiety. But after several seconds of nothing but dilly-dallying, Abby jumps in.
Come on, my bitches. It's time to get your frothy cunts in gear. Chaos awaits.
Abby adds, her punk philosophical worldview shining through. Sweat pools on her forehead, and her smile stretches from ear to ear. Jane finally understands that Abby is the expressive sister, embodying the raw, anarchistic spirit of Crass, while Amanda is the dark, empty hole, a gothic punk lost in her own thoughts. The air is thick with tension, the urgency of their mission pressing down on all of them. After rolling her eyes, Jane turns to Amanda.
Your sister needs to work on her manners.
Amanda shrugs, her mind drifting to the bleak, gothic landscapes she often imagines. With all the effort in her soul, she mouths in monotone.
But what she lacks in etiquette, she more than makes up for in hacking records and viewing cameras. We know where the van is now. It will take us 10 minutes to get there.
Her voice is flat, but the underlying tension is palpable. Margaret's heart races as she processes the information. The scent of sweat and fear mingles with the faint smell of gasoline from the nearby vehicles, creating an almost suffocating atmosphere. The neon lights outside cast an eerie glow on their faces, highlighting their determined expressions against the corrupt, harsh, and gritty world they inhabit.
Let's go,
Margaret urges, her voice cracking with emotion. Every second counts, and they know they must act quickly to find Margaret's daughter. The tension is unbearable, but there is no room for hesitation. They move with purpose, their resolve hardening with every step. This is their chance, and they cannot afford to fail. While the makeup team works on Paul, Daria stands in the room, watching as they meticulously apply each layer to his face. Her eyes sharp and alert. Never miss a detail. Laughing, Winston and Adelina enter the room.
The prison guys share and love getting something.
Adelina starts, but as soon as she sees Daria, she switches the subject.
Well, what do we have here?
She rushes over and touches Paul on the shoulder.
Well, don't you look dapper?
Agent Serendorje? Winston offers, his voice smooth. What do you think of our little group? The old man waves his hand around the room. Daria smiles, though it doesn't quite reach her upper cheeks.
I have some security concerns, but I will watch tonight to ensure that Paul delivers his speech and makes it away fine.
Her childhood in South Korea taught her to always be on guard, to trust her instincts. Good, but it is not just the speech we need Earth Corps' protection for. After his speech, Winston strolls over and places a hand on Paul's shoulder, a fatherly gesture hiding ulterior motives. This future senator has a fundraiser to attend. We will need you there as well.
Understood.
Daria's mind already runs through the logistics. Good. I just wish Earth Corps could spare a few more agents. Winston pours himself a glass of scotch.
How about your private security team?
Daria asks. When she were young, she remembered other students whose parents used relationships with the school to get special favors for their child. The practice, when unnecessary, always bothered her. Still, she also remembered times in Korea, in the search history department, of needing backup in tough situations surfacing and not having it available. She awaits the answer to determine the direction here. At the speech, Adelina will have 25 people in the crowd uncover, and at the fundraiser, she will have the same number to protect Paul.
With so much security.
Daria begins, and then she realizes this is not about protection at all for Winston. Paul has enough personnel on his team. This is about image, the political optics of being important enough that EarthCorps sent agents to protect Paul. Well, she still intends to do her job. Protecting Paul tonight is her assigned mission, and Daria plans to ensure nothing harms the man. I think better after having a few drinks, Winston offers, the smell of scotch filling the room as he strolls to the bar and pours himself a glass. Would any of you like one?
Not me. One drink dulls my senses, but I can get the drift because I am the same way without coffee.
Her mind flashes back to late nights as a child, staying sharp while her parents argued downstairs.
EarthCorps agent is correct. We can't afford to dull our senses. I know this night is supposed to be one of joy, Mr. Jones. But we, the security team, feel free to drink as much as you desire. Must keep a sharp look for anything sinister.
Of course. How insensitive of me. Sharing a drink was just meant as my way of being social. As the makeup people finish putting on Paul's face, they hand him a capsule. Daria moves to ensure the capsule is safe, but Winston stops her. It's just a vibrating capsule. They prescribed them to give a person feeling of fullness. I don't want to appear pigging out at the reception, Paul offers, his voice slightly muffled, as he barely moves his mouth with the exfoliating unit applied to his skin.
I understand,
Daria states, a hint of relief in her voice. Winston hands Paul a gun. Still getting face work. I can't move. Winston takes the gun from Paul's hand and places it on the table next to Paul. Daria watches the odd sight, her instincts on high alert. Yes, things are not always as they appear. Once, Gino went to the emergency room. I'll never forget it. He had the sweetest wife, and they always seemed to get along, but one day, I don't know what he said, but I am sure he said or did something. Winston rolls his eyes as if there were more that he was not saying. Well, his wife picked up a baseball bat, ran into the living room. She struck him in the stomach with the steel bat and doubled him over. She said she was going to throw all his belongings in the street. I was so shocked. Of course, I found out later that she thought he was having an affair. When it was clear he wasn't, she transformed and became this passive thing again. All apologetic.
Interesting. How did she find out?
Well, I paid for a detective. By the way, great gumshoes that Merlot and his girlfriend were. It was surprising they never joined EarthCorps, but I digress. To look over some of her records, Winston says. As if he were channeling his old friend Gino, Winston's hands wave in a circle to move the story along. I figured since I was his best friend, it was the very least I could do to help clear things up. Turns out, the woman was a person he had seen to help me on a business matter. Anyhow, she became deeply grief-stricken and was depressed for weeks. She never intended to hit him, but in rage over what she thought he did, she lost it, too emotionally attached, completely tied to her sense of self. It overwhelmed her.
So why are you telling me this?
Daria asks. When she was young, she remembered other students whose parents used relationships with the school to get special favors for their child. The practice, when unnecessary, always bothered her. Still, she also remembered times in Korea, in the search history department, who of needing backup in tough situations, surfacing, and not having it available. She awaits the answer to determine the direction here. When it comes to family matters, it is best not to jump to conclusions. Often, things are complicated at best. Daria nods, her childhood memories of dealing with family complexities flooding back. She understands the layers of emotion and hidden motives that often lie beneath the surface. She steels herself for the task ahead, determined to protect Paul and navigate the intricate web of relationships and power plays that surround them. Paul waves Adelina over and whispers to her, I'm still not convinced my father wasn't having an affair with them both. The way he goes on and on about the two of them. To keep tabs on the van while they travel, Amanda arranges for a satellite picture of the area where it is located. On the drive over, the group discusses figuring out where the girl might be. The cobalt blue van rests in a lot about 20 feet from an old warehouse. 2 drones circle the area. So Tough by the Slits plays on the radio, adding a rebellious soundtrack to their mission.
Okay, we will park about 2 blocks away so as not to draw suspicion.
Margaret offers, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying her anxiety.
Do you think they are in the van?
Jane asks, her voice trembling slightly. The others glare at her.
I mean, we have not really thought this out. They might be watching.
10 seconds later, thunder roars.
Or the van has drones ready to fire. Or even move the kid into the factory or switched cars and booby-trap the van. Fucking pig has a point.
Abby scoffs, her anarchistic personal philosophy shining through. Her mouth twists in frustration, and her eyes flash with determination. Her voice turns, empathetic, but overwhelmed with her own emotions.
How should we play this, Marguerite? Here, kid and I?
Abby pauses, visibly frustrated. Amanda shrugs and lets her struggle. She points back to her sister. Abby's mouth twists, and a full minute passes before Amanda jumps in.
What she is trying to say is that she does not want to mess this up and get your baby hurt.
Amanda clarifies, her voice a monotone contrast to Abby's fiery demeanor. Margaret's heart pounds. This is her kid, and each passing minute could be deadly. Also, a bad approach could be equally damning.
Yeah, great point. We can come in from the side and take out the drones. My targeting computer could easily get the jump on the first one.
Margaret touches the small jade grasshopper statue in her pocket, a childhood talisman for luck. It has not failed her before, and inside her head she prays it will not fail now.
What about the second?
Jane asks, her voice barely above a whisper.
I can toss a fucking rock at it or hit the damn thing with my whip. Still, I think it best if I just shoot the fucker.
A flash of lightning covers the sky, and 10 seconds later, thunder arrives, adding to the tension. Margaret's mind races, her crust-punk philosophy reminding her of the harsh realities of life and need to fight against oppressive systems. She feels a deep connection to the Gnosticism that has shaped her worldview, believing that true knowledge comes from within, and that she must rely on her inner strength to navigate this crisis. The smell of rain mingles with the faint scent of gasoline, creating an almost suffocating atmosphere. The bright neon lights cast an eerie glow on their faces, highlighting their determined expressions against the gritty Atlanta skyline. Every second counts, and they know they must act quickly to find Margaret's daughter. The tension is unbearable, but there is no room for hesitation. They move with purpose, the resolve hardening with every step. This is their chance, and they can't afford to fail. Paul blocks out the image of steel and glass as he descends the escalator, preparing to make his big announcement. Son of a bitch, Paul mutters to himself, as the light blinds him briefly. The corporate media converges, all gathered at his request, to provide massive coverage. Tonight, he plans to dazzle them with his announcement. Large hover drones orbit above, creating colored spotlights around him, aiming to provide the best hues to give him an edge, crafting the perfect image. On the television screen, he hears a news reporter mentioning an unfortunate suicide at the prison this evening, and that local advocates are calling for change. His father, Winston, approaches him and murmurs in his ear, "I know this might not be the time, but I wanted to say that Adelina is a good and loyal friend. You should trust her more." His father then strides toward the podium where Paul will make his announcement. At the bottom of the escalator, Daria joins him on the side. Behind them, A techno band plays People Are People by Depeche Mode. White, gold, and orange-tinged lights beam on his shoulders. The lights are designed to create the mood and hint at his honesty, power, and integrity. His father has pulled out all the stops, hiring 4 handlers for his campaign to ensure all psychological factors are considered. Paul reaches the bottom and saunters to the podium. His father stands behind him, glancing over his shoulder. "Excuse me for a second. This jacket is getting stuffy." To a roar of cheers, he shrugs off his navy blue suit jacket, just as his handler suggested, and places it on the podium. He rolls up his sleeves, exposing his bulging biceps. His mighty forearms stand out, and he is glad they do, as he invested 2 months' worth of wrist curls and reversed wrist curls to make them appear perfect. A small gasp escapes his bodyguard Adelina's mouth, and he imagines his physique is making her moist. Nothing speaks to virility like the love and devotion of a beautiful young woman. As his father planned, the audience eats it up. "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't plan to keep you long. I've had a lot of luck in the market and running my own company. We have created a new image of a kind, generous organization, one whose high-speed artificial intelligence has ensured that each citizen has their needs met, almost instantly. Many of you have experienced the product line of advanced robots my company, Runyon Blue, has developed. Still, for as much as I have done, for as long as this company has moved to improve the lives of the people of the great state of Georgia, they have suffered from the scourge of a poorly designed government, one that is too slow to react to individual needs of its citizens, one which interferes where it is not wanted, creates hassles where it is not intended, and does not intervene when it is so clear it should. A round of murmurs circulates through the crowd. He silences them with the raising of a hand. Sure, several of the riders in the group have speculated about his next moves, and they will now be rewarded with his acknowledgement that they were correct. Therefore, I have decided to run for the next senator for this great state. I plan to take my views to Washington, to strengthen our tech industries in this global market and not let outdated concepts like privacy keep Americans from achieving true happiness. Paul cannot believe his luck over the recent weeks. He feels that he is finally hitting his stride. A roar erupts from the crowd, and several reporters raise their hands and shout out questions. He disregards them. He raises his arms to silence the crowd. Over the next 3 days, the full details of my candidacy shall be laid out. For those who wish to aid me in this venture, to take all of Georgia into the future, please sign up at my website, pauljonesforsenate.com. I look forward to your coming on board. I am asking for your vote for the rest of this wonderful staff. I have had many successes in both science and business. I intend to bring everything from the fields I have learned to restore this state to a golden age, one that every Georgian will be proud to call their own. His father places his hand on Paul's shoulder, his grip firm and supportive. Winston's voice is filled with pride as he states, "As my son said, we shall have detailed plans on our positions in the next few days. For tonight, we just wanted the people of the state, and in particular, the people of the city, feeling so torn down by the lawlessness, violence, and destructive abuses of the drug cartels, to feel the hope of a brighter tomorrow, and for all the vigilantes fighting in this war. Now is the time to put down your weapons, as my son assured me that once he is in office, the streets shall become safe for all decent citizens again. Thank you." Paul leans and shouts into the microphone, "And God bless the United States of America," as he strides off the stage with the presence of a warrior basking in victory. Both Daria and Adelina huddle around him, one on either side, angled slightly before and the other behind. It would be nothing to take a step in front or behind him if the situation called for it. Daria's eyes scan the crowd, her gaze sharp and vigilant. So far, things appear to be sound. Shoot the fuckers, they do. Abby positions herself as a sniper and eliminates both drones. Amanda keeps her gun trained on the white van. Sweat trickles down her brow. As she hopes and prays this is not a mistake, her breath steadies. The sweet smell of the coming summer rain calms her. Praying nothing is set up to detonate it, Jane and Margaret dart through cars in the lot, inching closer and closer to their target. Margaret's heart hammers in her chest. Joy and optimism surge through her, and she hopes she will soon be reunited with her child, and this nightmare will end. She even promises herself and God that she will give up Atlanta if her baby is okay. Paul will be someone else's problem. They move in from either side. When they reach the door, she peers inside.
Wired, step back.
They leap back, and as they do, the van explodes. Margaret crashes into a car in the lot, hitting her head. The blast hurls Jane 10 feet, and it is clear she is bleeding. Her leg appears twisted. Abby screams.
Fuck!
Amanda rushes toward her two comrades who are down, with Abby a few steps behind her. When they arrive, Jane lies unconscious.
I got Jane. You get Marguerite. I hope that crust bitch is okay.
Abby yells back and rushes to her friend. She feels for a pulse upon the arrival and is relieved to find one. Next, she searches for bleeders and finds none. Of course, if the bleeding is internal, she would not find any. Abby reaches into her pockets and drags out a glass tube of smelling salts. She cracks it under Margaret's nose. The woman's head shifts, and she starts to revive.
What the hell happened?
Margaret coughs, dizzy and confused. Abby grits her teeth.
Fucking van was wired, and it blew to pieces when you touched it. Is Jane okay? Shit, the blast knocked out one of my earrings.
She reaches back to her ear, and it bleeds. 6 earrings are still present, but 2 are missing, and blood drips from the torn holes in the left lobe. She slides off her bandana and wipes her ear, then applies pressure.
I don't know. Amanda is with her.
The shocked expression on Margaret's face vanishes, replaced by terror. She starts sobbing.
Anna. Shit, did you see her in the van?
Placing a hand to her head, Margaret tries to focus. She pats her bandana over her face, removing some of the sweat and blood.
I don't remember.
The mother's face hardens with determination. All her fear and sadness transform into a wall of hate.
I am going to fucking kill Paul.
She moves to get up. Pain registers across her face, and tears well up in her eyes. Her fingers reach into her pocket and tightly clasp the jade scorpion. She holds it tight and firm, pressing her fingertips against it while she sobs.
Listen, sister, now is not the fucking time to move. You took a hard spill. You could have a damn back injury or some shit. I doubt it. Reach into my bag and fish out my scanner.
Margaret says, but stops struggling to get up.
You carry a goddamn scanner? Fucking A. Damn, bitch. Wish I had one. Dated an EMT a few years back, and he picked one up for me. You know, bounty hunting is grueling. Shit. I knew you'd never buy one. Cheap as shit you fucking are. Well, truth be known, shit describes him pretty well. Looks like your sister is on the phone.
Grabbing the scanner from the crust punk's pouch, Abby adds.
Let's hope it is to the fucking ambulance and not the goddamn morgue.
Abby scans her.
You lucked out, bitch. No breaks. Else tonight be spent at the hospital.
She reaches down a hand to help Margaret off the ground. As if on cue, Amanda appears.
Called an ambulance and did some first aid. The cop is going to need to get to the hospital. We should wait. You guys can wait. I found a link between the kidnapping and Paul, and I am going to confront and kill him.
In a soft, firm voice, Amanda offers.
I don't think your kid was in the van. But the bomb could have killed me. I'm hoping to live long enough to clean my life up. Shit! Look what it did to Jane. I got to end this. Where will you go? Breaking news on my phone says the fucker completed his speech. He is officially running. Read the article. They usually throw a party or a fundraiser after the announcement with donors. Maybe I can find him at one. If not, I'll ask some contacts to understand where he is. Either I get my daughter back, or he dies tonight. He probably has a fuck ton of security.
Abby shouts, and Amanda raises her eyebrows to confirm what Abby says needs to be taken seriously.
I don't fucking care.
Margaret declares, and in the distance sirens wail. They are coming here. They will arrive to take care of Jane. Amanda's cell phone buzzes, and she shows the screen to her sister. The headline reads, Cassidy Rabbit, found dead in her cell.
Shit, shit, shit!
Abby exclaims. She glances at Amanda, who makes a sad face and shrugs. Cassidy and Amanda were friends. Amanda had even done some hacking for the cam chick. Both twins know it is only a matter of time before Paul hunts them.
They're fucking cleaning house? Well, we're fucking in. Are you sure?
While talking, her hand slides into her pocket, and she touches the jade dragon for strength.
Abso-fucking-lutely!
Abby replies. She reaches for her belt and flips on her sound system. The Havoc's Who's to Blame blares out.
They're fucking cleaning house? Well, we're fucking in.
After the speech, Paul laughs and jokes with the crowd at the gala, pouring himself a glass of champagne. The state has so much potential. I plan to make it the most business-friendly state in the nation and create a bunch of tax cuts in the Senate to get the businesses here to grow. It's the best thing for the people, he declares with a sparkle in his eye. A donor raises an eyebrow and asks, Some would say that trickle-down approach never works. We'll make it work. We have to. If anything, my time in robotics at Runyon Blue has taught me is that the potential out there for machines to replace man and free him is enormous. I suspect with the right investment, AI will enhance every field. Rather those plants be in Georgia than in China. Paul insists, as if by sheer magic, his words could bend reality. Seeing Paul in his element, Daria is thoroughly impressed. The man exudes confidence and style. She notices, always playing the supporting role, his powerful father standing behind him. She wonders to herself,
Is Winston Jones a kingmaker?
The thought is intriguing. Adelina shifts away from Paul's side and towards his father.
I just wanted to thank you for taking care of my nephew. It truly was completely unexpected. I am thrilled that he can go to college, and even medical school cost-free.
Anything for one of my most loyal and trusted friends. Let me know when he's ready to apply to medical school. I have friends on the admission boards of some of the most prestigious institutions. They are always quite impressed with my recommendations. I am just sad that Gino has passed. He knew some great people who would have been essential.
Thank you. It is also wonderful that you added funds for a tutor and books if he needs them. Most generous.
Anything he needs. Computers, AI support, books, tutors. If the fund needs more money, I will gladly provide it.
I just wanted to let you know. I was happy to take care of that other issue for Paul. If you need anything in the future, don't hesitate to ask. Anything for you.
Great to hear that pesky rabbit issue is over. I saw it on the news and was delighted. I made sure there was a bonus in your check.
Thank you. Well, I really need to get back to Paul.
Winston nods his understanding, and she drifts back to her duties. From her vantage point in the room, Daria reads their lips and registers the conversation. Rabbit, As in an animal and not the streamer? Suitable? Daria muses in denial. Surely, Winston and Paul had nothing to do with Buckley's suicide. Then, the disturbing notion that Paul and his father might be untamable monsters, even by Earthcore, crosses her mind. As she walks by, Adelina glares at Daria.
I'm not a fan of my conversations with Winston being spied on. So, if you could be a good agent and respect my God-given right to privacy, that would be wonderful. Yes, ma'am.
Daria replies, maintaining her composure. Daria thinks, didn't Paul say privacy was an outdated concept? Margaret reaches the old warehouse, her heart pounding as she notices the locked door. A small window on the side catches her eye. She removes the bandana from her head, ties it around her fist, and smashes through the glass. She squeezes through the shattered window, glancing around. Beside the button for the dock light, she spots a green lever. With no one in sight, she yanks the hydraulic device. The mechanical loading dock door creaks open about a foot before she stops it, minimizing the noise. The other two slide under the door with ease. Margaret ties her bandana back on and draws her gun. Faint footsteps echo throughout the building, signaling that they are not alone. A masculine reflection appears in one of the cracked rectangular windows. The warehouse's harsh fluorescent lighting, casting his shadow menacingly on the floor. The blondes draw their weapons, stealthier than Margaret. In moments like these, she is grateful to be surrounded by trained killers. Margaret presses her finger to her lips, urging Amanda to stay quiet. Confused, Amanda cocks her head and points to Abby. Abby crosses her arms and scoffs. They search the room, particles of sawdust swirling around them. A long, tightly woven rope sits bunched on a plywood crate. Amanda grabs it, slings it over her shoulder, and nods. She slips on a pair of thermal glasses and melts into the room's shadows, avoiding the hot fluorescent lights. Margaret edges out from behind the shutter. Margaret calls out to the lone guard.
Excuse me?
His lightweight, durable black shirt wrinkles as he approaches, his footsteps crunching on the dusty ground. You're not supposed to be here. The muscular man growls, his shirt twisting as he reaches for his pocket. The badge tab reads Runyon Blue Security, and a reinforced sling jangles as he withdraws a small gun. The shirt's open collar exposes his hairy chest, oddly mismatched with his physique.
I'm looking for my daughter,
Margaret says. An old ambic song echoes in her head as she raises her hands in surrender. The guard hesitates, his left hand reaching into his pocket for a pair of cuffs, his eyes locked onto Margaret's, widening with recognition. Almost a decade ago, Margaret lived on the streets for several months and became adept at reading people. She knows he is a mid-level security guard, committed to his job, and about to lie. Usually, she could forgive him, but not today. I have no idea. The guard stammers. He steps forward to cuff her.
What do you mean? You have no idea.
Margaret seethes, struggling to maintain her composure. I don't know who you are or where your daughter is. Margaret's eyes scan the room. On the other side of the warehouse, a single chair sits in the center. Rope is still at the feet of the chair. She walks to the rope, and her eyes catch sight of a button. Abby, who has silently snuck behind him with a nightstick, clubs him at an awkward angle. The man collapses, still conscious but dropping his gun. Ow! What the fuck? The guard wails, clutching his bleeding head. Margaret nods in confirmation. It is enough for Amanda, who lunges at him with a rope, wrapping him tightly. Margaret and Abby hoist him up, his tears wetting Abby's mouth. She spits it out and wipes it off with her damp shirt. They toss him into a chair and secure him with the rope. The guard is too disoriented to fight back. Abby retrieves the gun. Margaret grabs the guard by the chin, tilting his head up.
Think the bleeding is bad? Fuck no. Head wounds always look worse than they are.
Margaret picks up the button, pivots back to her prey.
Where is my daughter?
Margaret holds up the button and asks sweetly. The guard struggles to hold back tears. I'm trying to think. He trails off. Abby strides over and presses the gun to his crotch. Trauma and grief mixed together for Abby as she offers.
Where the fuck is she? Or you'll never have kids of your own. One shot will shatter the family jewels.
She presses the weapon into his crotch, assessing where the deep dorsal artery would be. Wait, I think your daughter was moved to the third warehouse. It's about 2 blocks away. Oh, God, I can't see. There's too much blood in my eyes.
Wouldn't have happened if my partner hit you correctly.
Margaret directs at Abby, who scoffs. Margaret LeBeau. A different male's voice calls from behind them, firing at the 3 women. Abby quickly takes cover behind a large birchwood crate, and Amanda and Margaret follow suit. Despite being 1 versus 3, the tension skyrockets, and they need to act fast before more Runyon Blue guards arrive. Margaret leans forward to peek around the crate, but Amanda stops her, volunteering instead. With her thermal imaging glasses on, Amanda scans the warehouse, spotting only 1 heat signature. Abby steps forward, but Margaret extends a hand to stop her. This is the perfect time to use the targeting arm. Amanda steps aside, ready to intervene if needed. The machine's gears whir softly.
What are you doing?
Abby hisses, taking cover behind Margaret, who lands on her knees. Margaret doesn't respond. She inhales the sawdust, and her target computer in her bionic arm lines up her shot. As the guard sprays bullets along the crate, Margaret aims carefully and fires. The bullet zips through the air, striking the guard's crotch. His scream echoes through the warehouse. The twins cover their mouths, eyes wide, letting out empathetic gasps. The guard collapses, clutching his bleeding crotch and howling in pain.
You should have just freaking killed him. I mean, right in the balls.
Abby scolds, louder than before, her face red, but a smile playing on her lips.
That is so. I was aiming for his leg. Damn targeting computer is glitching again. Get an ambulance for this man.
She returns to the bound guard and slaps him with her bionic. Amanda cringes. Abby whips out her phone and calls for an ambulance. Meanwhile, Amanda and Margaret quietly slip out of the building. Back at the gala, Paul grows weary of entertaining. He feels his act can only last so long. His fingers caress the long red crushed velvet curtains, with a gold sash, studded with the lab-grown diamonds. The nanobot-made curtains demand a sense of elegance. While he feigns interest, donors swarm around him, eager to discuss his views. I'm a bit hungry, Paul announces with a hint of a smile, and glides away. His father swiftly intercepts the donors and guides them toward the bar. A gleam in Winston's eyes as he says, I want to show you something we've been developing. It's a new line of police robots. Let's stop at the bar for drinks and then head to the hall. I've got the prototype here. A waiter approaches with a tray, but Paul dismisses the grilled oysters on a bed of salt with a wave of his hand. He bypasses the crab toast and reaches for another boiled oyster with Parmigiano and Nduja. Paul always considers oysters an aphrodisiac, and he glances over at Adelina with a playful smile. She saunters closer to him. Across the room by the bar, his father raises a glass of drambuie and enthusiastically toasts his son with several potential donors. I think I'd like to breathe some fresh air outside. Adelina nods.
Okay, I'll let the rest of security know.
I was hoping it would just be you, Paul whispers, leaning toward her ear. Adelina asks, raising an eyebrow.
How about the Earth Corps woman? You know your dad wants her with us at all times, and she's under direct orders from Earth Corps.
Ah, damn. Bring her.
You know, she's not so bad. She just told me she received a message saying 3 women are hunting you. Marguerite LeBeau, Abigail, and Amanda Pollock.
Never heard of them. What's their gripe with me? Paul inquires, his curiosity piqued. Then he remembers the name LeBeau and his father's words about an insurance policy. He does not want to know any more. But how to stop this conversation?
They seem to be friends with the woman who committed suicide in prison. You know why they're targeting you? The rabbit woman spread some rumors about you. Price of being famous, I guess.
Rain hammers down as Margaret bolts through the neon-lit streets of Old City Atlanta, her heart pounding like a drum. The colonial houses on either side form an oppressive, claustrophobic path. Dogs bark, their noise a faint backdrop to her racing thoughts. The endless lines of self-driving cars glint eerily in the desolate night. She has no time for distractions. She must reach the warehouse. The Chaos UK song, No Security, echoes in her mind, helping her focus. The twins struggle to keep up, their footsteps splashing through puddles and sink, with the relentless rain in their pounding hearts. Margaret halts briefly at an intersection, her breath ragged. She places a hand on her knee, her voice a mix of determination and desperation.
It's not too far ahead.
She pants, the rain matting her hair and smearing her eyeliner. Abby acknowledges, her voice strained as she skids to a stop.
Fucking A! We'll break in and get Anna back. Tixeo te hete lampe umbaste. Capiche? Sissy? Sissy.
Margaret forces a chuckle at the broken pig Latin.
You don't have to do that, I understand.
Margaret replies, her tone tinged with anxiety. With sweat and rainwater dripping from her brow, Abby rests her gun on a solar-powered trash can, her breath coming in gasps. Margaret slides her bandana down, wipes her brow, and inhales deeply, refixing the bandana with trembling hands. She admits,
Haven't done a run like that in ages. Some good exercise.
She points down the street at the rusting warehouses, her voice shaky.
One of those abandoned warehouses is our destination. If they see us coming, they might execute Anna. So, what's the plan?
Amanda arches her eyebrows, deferring to Margaret. It's her child, after all. They provide muscle and counsel, but leave strategy to her unless there's an obvious flaw.
I'll come up with something as we get closer.
Margaret decides, her voice tight with tension. The trio races 2 more blocks over broken streets, their breath coming in ragged bursts. The last street lights vanish as they reach a gravel lot with a rusted chain-like fence.
We made it.
Margaret announces, her voice wavering. She scans the area, desperation clawing at her. Anxiety gnaws at her, but Amanda points to the 3rd building over.
How can you be sure?
Margaret asks, her voice hopeful. They may find her daughter, and dread the girl might already be dead. Amanda rolls her eyes.
No. Seriously? The 1st and 2nd have broken hinges. They wouldn't risk putting her in an exposed place. Look, the mud around the 3rd building has tracks. The first 2 don't.
The rain continues to pour, and hope ignites within Margaret, spreading through her entire being.
Shit. I hate this idea, but maybe we climb up the side of the 1st building? She said my daughter is in the 3rd.
Margaret interrupts. Amanda nods in agreement.
Don't be a fucking cop always. Walking the wrong beat.
Abby snaps, her frustration palpable. Amanda shrugs. Then a light bulb goes off in Abby's head.
Shit, listen, hear me out. If we go around that side and enter through the chain link, we could climb the east wall and move across the tops of the 3 buildings.
Amanda places a hand on her sister's shoulder, pride shining in her eyes.
I see your point. The building serves as our cover. It's a slower route, Megs, but I think it lessens the risk of us being spotted. And Anna getting harmed. There's scaffolding in front of it to make the climb possible.
Margaret nods, her heart hammering in her chest. The tension is palpable, each second feeling like an eternity as they inch closer to their goal. Beneath a small red awning outside the catering hall, Paul perches on a gray wooden bench with a red body pillow and a small throw blanket. Inside, Cab Calloway's Minnie the Moocher plays. He gestures for Adelina to join him, a hopeful gleam in his eye, but she declines with a shake of her head.
On duty,
She mutters, her lips forming a thin line. About 4 feet behind her stands Daria, her expression stoic, alongside one of Runyon Blue's new battle robots, designed for the police force. Paul nods, his shoulders sagging slightly.
Your dad seems ecstatic.
He finally has everything he wanted. Powerful son, a city, a state that finally gives him the respect he deserves. A sense that his family has impacted this world. The corporation has always had good name recognition. But we've had setbacks. Most recently, when Abe Koch withdrew from the engine. It would have given us the space fare market and get people to Mars. Instead, our stock plummeted. Given Atlanta's global trade power, he expects my candidacy to propel Runyon Blue to international recognition. Paul sighs, his voice tinged with resignation. Adelina exhales deeply, her eyes drifting to the densely populated city's neon glow, which burns like a halo over the mega-scrapers. Even from a distance, she observes the high-tech metro system. Climate refugees from the southwestern U.S. have surged the city's population close to 4 million, a far cry from its 500,000 population in the 2020s. Atlanta dazzles with the diverse social landscape and vibrant subculture. It boasts a vast network of bustling streets and a thriving technology industry, nearing $1 trillion. It is culturally diverse startups that swiftly partnered with Silicon Valley's tech industry, amplifying its economic influence. Local firms' voice identification technology has proven highly successful in detecting deep fakes, staying on the cutting edge of evolving changes. Adelina sighs again, imagining herself living nowhere else despite its gritty underside, including high crime rates, vigilante killings, and massive poverty. Even with AI predicting criminal moves to aid the police, yearly crime rates have risen for nearly a decade. For the first time, it hits her. What if Paul moves to D.C. as a senator? Would she still have a relationship? Per her contract, she would still get paid. But what about the us she experiences with Paul? She could follow him to D.C., but then she'd have to leave her family. Her heart flutters at the thought. A chuckle escapes her lips as she envisions Paul enjoying D.C.'s eclectic nightlife. Her mind drifts to D.C.'s glass facades, reflecting the neon lights. And quickly she shakes her head, refocusing. Over the last 6 months, she has grown to care deeply for Paul, convinced her affection has turned to love. Occupational hazard, she tells herself, and then chides herself. Now is not the time for self-reflection. She has a critical job requiring her full attention.
How about you?
She reaches over and touches his shoulder. How about me what? Paul inquires, his eyebrows knitting in curiosity.
Do you want this?
She probes, her voice soft yet insistent. Initially, he is reluctant and wants to give the appropriate response. The response his family would approve of, but then Paul decides to confide in her. I don't know. I like the idea of helping people and driving more business for Atlanta. It's the least I can do to atone for many of my Playboy failures, but part of me was just starting to enjoy my life, was thinking of even starting a family. He chuckles toward the end, and then glances up at her. Their eyes lock. Her heart flutters. Could he mean her? Inside, it makes her feel cheap and empty. But as she soul-searches, she realizes she could make a good wife. Adelina hopes for so much inside, but voices none of it. Part of her wants to kick hope in the balls. Instead, she says,
You've got a good heart.
Her voice, a mix of sincerity, sadness, and longing. She loved these moments of honesty from him. From inside, Paul hears, Frank Sinatra's "It Was a Very Good Year" playing. A series of black and gray decorative rocks creates an entranceway in and out of the hall. Daria stands about 4 feet behind them, arms crossed, her eyes scanning the area with calculated precision. Paul's gaze drifts to a small fountain in front of the hall. He loses himself in the water's dance. His eyes trail down the block. Paul remarks, "You know, my family owns a few warehouses, about a block from here." He points into the distance, and as he does, Adelina thinks she sees someone scaling the side of those distant buildings. He reaches over and taps Adelina's nose with his index finger, a playful glint in his eyes. "Come on, entertain me. I'm bored." Adelina's brow creasing with concern.
"I will in a minute, but I think I need to check something out. I got a report 5 miles from the old Atlanta Tech Village."
She signals to Daria. Daria taps the door behind her, and 2 new guards stride out. Paul pleads, his voice tinged with disappointment. "Come on. Those warehouses have been empty for years." Adelina's eyes flash. A small tell. Paul misses, but Daria catches it.
"I'm sure it's nothing,"
Adelina says, then bends and kisses him on the cheek, a gesture that feels both intimate and distant. This confirms Daria's suspicion of an affair, which is none of her business. With the additional guards present, Daria and Adelina glide into the night.
"So what's in the warehouse?"
Daria questions, her tone laced with skepticism.
"Nothing. They are empty."
Adelina replies, but the Earth Corps agent doesn't believe her, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. The warehouse looms in the neon-lit night, a relic amidst the urban sprawl. Workers have been restoring it, using lime mortar to fill the gaps between bricks. Temporary metal scaffolding, a network of interlocking aluminum poles, tubes, and coupler systems, stands tall. The system rests on casters, ready to be rolled to another site once the job is done. Abby inspects the scaffold, ensuring it's stable and not swaying. Guardrails line the open side of the scaffold.
"It's solid, bitches,"
Abby declares, though there's a hint of unease in her voice.
"Looks like we lucked out finding this."
Margaret remarks, trying to reassure herself as much as the others.
"Most of the pointing work is done with drones and people on the ground using 3-dimensional printing with virtual reality glasses. They must have resorted to this older model because of the extensive number of windows needing replacement."
Amanda nods, her face betraying a flicker of doubt. Abby notices the hint of desperation. Not normally the reflective one, Abby is surprised to find herself thinking.
"Damn cruel world. First my mom gets dementia, then my boyfriend Carl dies. Now Marguerite is frantic because her daughter was stolen. Shitty world we live in."
Abby felt the sting of bitterness, but then, as quickly as it came, it went. Margaret leaps onto the scaffold, scaling the bars toward the plank. As she climbs, her mind drifts to the lyrics of the crust punk song she grew up with, the raw, unfiltered truth they screamed into the void. The world around her feels like a reflection of those songs. Gritty, unforgiving, and steeped in chaos. She embraces the crust punk world view, seeing the world as an anarchic landscape where the powerful prey on the weak, and the only way to survive is to rebel against the system. This belief fuels her determination, her fight against the oppressive forces she encounters. Yet, beneath the hardened exterior, Margaret clings to her Gnostic beliefs. She views the material world as a flawed and corrupt place, a mere shadow of a higher divine reality. Her quest is not just to save Anna, but to fight against the dark forces that enslave humanity in ignorance and suffering. This spiritual conviction gives her a sense of purpose, a belief that her actions can pierce through the veil of deception and bring about true enlightenment. Despite this, a gnawing worry nags at her. What if they don't make it in time? Amanda follows closely behind, her face set in grim determination. Abby starts, but then halts abruptly.
"Fucking boots! I'll be a minute. I need to fix these pieces of shit.
She steps off the scaffold and searches for a rock to fix the heel, her movements jerky with tension. The rain intensifies, creating a symphony of drips and splashes. Neon lights flicker, casting eerie shadows on the warehouse walls. The tension is palpable as Margaret and Amanda ascend the scaffold, their breaths quickening. The city's hum serves as a constant reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows. Every creak of the scaffold, every distant siren heightens their awareness. Margaret's heart races, fueled by her belief in a higher purpose and the raw defiance of her crust-punk spirit. Yet, the worry gnaws at her, adding to the weight of each step they take. They know they must move swiftly and silently, for any misstep could mean disaster. Brash neon lights slash the skyline, a garish display against the ink-black night. The area, once a shadowed expanse with 3 decrepit warehouses, now hums with latent tension. Daria and Adelina stride towards the looming structures, their silhouettes sharp against the electronic glow. Adelina's phone vibrates in her pocket. She glances down and grimaces. Damn, Paul. Sometimes his neediness is infuriating. She jabs the phone button and mutters.
Yeah, working.
Her hand hovers near her ear, wary of Paul's usual volume. I know. Paul's voice crackles through the line. From the catering hall behind him, the strains of How to Keep the Music Playing, sung by James Ingram and Patty Austin, filter through. Adelina barely acknowledges it, rolling her eyes. At least he's trying to make this seem like a real relationship. Just checking in to make sure you're all right. You never know what crazies are out there.
Ah, it's lovely of you to call.
Her tone dripping with sarcasm. She realizes this is his big night, and she did want it to be special, but it was her job to make sure it did not get ruined.
I like that you can't go a few minutes without checking on me.
Yeah, it feels like forever when you're gone.
You're so sweet.
Adelina acknowledges, her voice hollow, a forced smile tugging at her lips. Daria raises her hand, pointing towards a figure moving in the distance. Adelina's eyes narrow and she nods, whispering into the phone.
Gotta go. We see someone.
Before she can hang up, a loud crash reverberates through the night. What was that? Paul's voice spikes with concern, but she's already disconnected. The robot beside Paul, faster and more efficient than any human, responds instantly. Amy. Paul calls to the mechanical sentinel. The robot strides forward, its movements precise. Head to this warehouse, he commands, sending the coordinates from his phone. Assist Adelina. The robot quick marches into the darkness, its metallic limbs reflecting the neon glow. Paul signals to 2 of his security guards. Let's move. It's only a few blocks away, less than a mile. Better safe than sorry. One of the guards questions the decision, his brow furrowing with concern. What about your party? You're expected inside. I know. Let me pop my head in and inform my dad. I'll be there in a few minutes. He can manage. His jaw tightens with determination as he strides back towards the hall. Inside the hall, the atmosphere is a stark contrast. Laughter and music blend in a cacophony of celebration. Paul scans the room, his eyes locking onto his father. Winston stands in a circle of donors, exuding charisma. Paul cuts through the crowd, tapping his father on the shoulder. Dad, I need to step out for a bit. There's something I need to handle. Winston's smile falters for a split second before he recovers, nodding. Go ahead, son. I'll take care of things here. Don't be too long. Your donors need to feel safe with you so they can toss money into your campaign. Paul squeezes his father's shoulder in gratitude, then turns and marches out, his guards flanking him. The neon-lit night engulfs them as they hurry toward the warehouses. Every step Paul takes is heavy with urgency, the worry etched in his furrowed brow and the set of his jaw. The tension coils tighter with each passing moment, the unknown dangers lurking in the shadows, amplifying the sense of impending peril. The old roof is a patchwork of heat-insulating tarp and decayed wood, whispering instability. As Margaret ascends the metal scaffolding, she hesitates, eyeing the precarious surface. The wind howls and the rain pelts down with relentless intensity, but Amanda remains silent. Margaret can't decipher if Amanda is the most patient person alive or if she's containing an avalanche of curses that would make Abby blush. Finally, after careful deliberation, Margaret gingerly plants her black leather combat boots on the roof. It holds, but trepidation gnaws at her with every step. She tiptoes away from the steel ladder, making room for Amanda. Margaret warns, her voice barely audible over the storm.
Watch your step. This roof is not as sturdy as we thought.
Amanda nods, following cautiously, but no amount of care can prevent the inevitable. The thin tarp and rotting wood collapse, and Margaret and Amanda plummet through the floor, crashing hard on the level below. Amanda winces as she attempts to stand, pain etched on her face. Margaret takes a moment to assess herself. Her arms are scraped, but not bleeding. She exhales in relief. It could have been much worse, but now they need to find another way into the warehouse.
Now what?
Margaret huffs, rising to her feet. She scans the room, her mind racing. Amanda steps to the wall, her fingers tracing its surface.
I guess we take the front exit.
Amanda nods in agreement. The space is vast and airy, the red brick walls marred by broken and missing windows.
It'll leave us on the left side of the scaffold.
Amanda shrugs in acceptance.
Okay, let's go slow. This place is a dust pit, and I'm not sure how strong the floor is.
Amanda points to some old construction equipment.
I get it. This floor must be sturdier, or that stuff would have fallen through.
Amanda nods.
I can feel the dust on my teeth. The down wall looks like a graffiti gallery. Abby would have loved to tag this place.
A small smile tugs at Amanda's lips. Her sister is quite the graffiti artist, favoring the Anarchy A or a double A for Abby and Amanda. Abby curses under her breath as the silhouettes of her friends suddenly vanish from her line of sight. A crash reverberates through the stormy sky, her heart pounding in her chest. This is bad, and she has no idea about the backup plan. Thinking quickly, Abby leaps off the scaffolding, only to be confronted by two mean-looking women. Abby whips out her pistol, the other two women mirroring her move. The scene feels surreal. Bright blue and red neon signs sizzle in the background, and dogs bark in the distance. Gun drawn, Abby stands with her legs spread wide, her eyes darting between her opponents. To her left is Daria, and to her right is Adelina. One mistake and Abby knows her life is over. Even if, by some miracle, she wins, is she ready to kill an Earth Corps agent? Even if this woman is discovered as dirty, at best, that would mean the rest of Abby's life on the run. Her jaw clenches in resolve, her knuckles whitening around the grip of her gun. She has reached the end of the line, and her soul needs to accept it. Settled, she sighs, a small shiver running down her spine. The triangle of women shifts their gazes at each other, waiting to see who will fire first. A comical amount of sweat pours off Abby's face, her blonde braid drenched from that and the rain compared to the other two women's drier hair. Her chest rises and falls rapidly, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She shifts her aim between the Earth Corps agent and Paul's bodyguard, unsure who to target first. Abby brushes back her hand over her leather jacket and cracks her neck, tension making her muscles ache. She takes a slow step back. This is no three-way standoff. If Abby can find an opportunity to run, she will live to see another day and get her revenge against Paul.
By the jurisdiction of Earth Corp, stop stepping backward.
Daria insists, her voice firm, her eyes locked onto Abby.
You are under arrest, Abigail Pollock. You have the right to... So, EarthCorp has thrown itself in with a sentient shit who murders people in prison and kidnaps little girls?
Abby shoots back, her voice laced with venom.
Or did this fucking bitch not tell you about how they strangled poor Cassidy Rabbit and kidnapped little Anna? Kid's so young she still wears pink ribbons and red buttons. Yeah, she has no taste, but most kids grow out of that shit.
Daria's eyes widen, shock flickering across her face. This is all new to her. Briefly, her mind flashes back to when Winston and Adelina entered the hotel room and spoke of the rabbit problem. She remembers Adelina saying the rabbit problem was taken care of. All of it gels in her head, and she murmurs,
What?
It is the last word she ever says. Adelina pivots, her eyes cold and determined, and blows Daria's head off. Blood splatters across the scene. This gives Abby the jump on her opponent. She fires at Adelina. The bullet strikes the woman dead in the gut. But in the half second it takes her to fall, she gets a wild shot off at Abby. The bullet strikes her right in the chest. Abby slumps to the floor under the scaffolding, gasping for breath. She figures the bars will offer her a bit more protection. The pain is so abundant it's numbing, her vision blurring at the edges. In the distance, she hears her sister and Margaret approaching, their frantic voices barely reaching her. Part of her fears they won't make it in time, or that she's so far gone that nothing can be done. Then, from the other end, she sees it. A giant Runyon blue robot.
Fucking horrible day. I knew I should have stayed in bed or even visited Mom.
She pauses a moment, her breathing ragged.
What the hell am I saying? I never visit Mom.
Her eyes catch sight of Amanda and Margaret. Her sister's eyes register pure terror. Abby raises her gun, her hand trembling, and fires at the robot. Either the police hear or someone calls it in because after the first two shots, police sirens wail. The klaxon of sirens blares through the neon-lit streets. Amanda announces her presence in a yell.
Almost there.
While her voice barely audible over the cacophony, Margaret believes this is the loudest Amanda has ever spoken in all the years they have known each other. It is a clear attempt to draw fire on herself and save her sister. With Margaret 20 paces behind, Amanda pivots around the bend and comes face to face with a giant robot. Its weapon rises, targeting Amanda. Abby, from her position on the ground, sees the terror in her sister's eyes. She yells something about their mother and fires. The robot retaliates, its blast striking Abby dead center. Amanda screams, her eyes turning bloodshot with rage. She fires repeatedly at the robot, her bullet striking its CPU and igniting it in flames. Rushing under the scaffolding, Amanda drops to the floor, clutching her sister's hand.
It's okay, Pumpkin. I got you.
A tear rolls down her eye. Abby reaches up.
I ain't heard you yell since we were 5. It is good that you are still in there.
Abby tries to smile. Her flesh twists and adds,
Fucking hurts like a mother. I'll be all right. You gotta get ex-Pig Peg to do her thing. Free her kid and I'll make justice. For Queer Jane.
Amanda shoots her sister a harsh glare, but given the level of pain she is experiencing, does not say anything.
Don't be such a homophobe. Fucking self-haters are the worst,
Margaret said. She waltzed over to the bodies and felt for a pulse.
Did you take them both out? Fucking take them out where? I'd do them both in a heartbeat, and you know it. Especially if they were buying me dinner afterward. That shit doesn't come free, you know. I got 2 down, 1 EarthCorp.
Amanda rises.
Don't waste your fucking time. They are both fucking pushing up daisies.
Amanda glares.
Would you prefer they bought the farm? What? I didn't kill the EarthCorp bitch. Her friend shot her. Weapon type could prove that. I'll get some pictures and call the coroner to report. We are all officers of the court. They will believe us. Right, after fucking I go back to being a virgin. God bless the rich and powerful. You fucking know. But call it in and then go save that kid of yours. You going to be all right? I'll be fine.
Amanda grabs Abby, panic surging through her veins as she sees her sister wounded.
Help me up.
Abby sighs, her voice weak. The absence of cursing for 2 responses in a row tells Amanda just how serious the situation is. A sad look forms in her eyes, and Abby continues.
Don't go looking like that. I ain't dying, bitch.
Amanda tries to lift her twin, but Abby lacks the strength and slumps back down, face turning gray. Abby says,
I don't think I'll be going further, bitches.
Noticing the gunshot wound, Margaret grabs the liquid skin and sprays it on Abby. It won't prevent internal bleeding, and the look in Amanda's eyes shows she fears this might be how her sister meets her end. All they have is a Band-Aid for the bullet.
It's just up ahead. Look, you guys got me here. Now it's my turn to finish it. Nope,
Amanda starts, but Margaret cuts her off.
You stay with your sister.
Margaret insists, touching the dragon in her pocket for strength. She thinks,
I am like the dragon. My power flows strong within me. I don't need a fucking sitter.
Abby mutters, then passes out. Amanda grabs Abby, panic surging through her veins as she sees her sister turn ashen gray. Shock was setting in. It feels like she's gliding on a cloud. White engulfs everything, swirling in a dreamlike haze, the air thick with an otherworldly glow. The astral plane around them pulses, violet, red, silvers, and blues, with a strange, almost hypnotic energy, adding to the surreal and disorienting atmosphere.
No fucking way. I've ascended to heaven. I don't believe this place. I'd be seeing fucking fire.
Through the blur, she discerns a figure. It's Jane, the cop.
Are you okay?
Jane inquires, her voice including her thick southern accent echoing in the ethereal space, her face etched with concern.
I was fucking shot.
Abby snaps, her voice tinged with frustration and disbelief.
What the hell kind of question is that, you fucking turd? You should start learning to trust others and let them get close. I'll file that shit under T for trash with the rest of the goddamn shit the world and this, after one, now have taught me.
Jane recoils, still unaccustomed to the twins' vulgarity, her eyes widening in surprise.
Oh, one out of my head, bitch. I need to get back to reality. I got no time for heaven. Sissy needs me.
Abby rises, her movements sluggish and disoriented, and crashes against the wall, her body quivering.
Who are you talking to? I heard you say Jane.
Margaret questions, trying to keep the twin focused, her voice slicing through the fog, her brow furrowed in concern. Amanda has elevated Abby's feet to allow the blood to return more to the body.
The pig. She appeared to me in a hallucination. Odd as shit because the bitch don't like me.
Not fully conscious, Abby mutters, her eyes darting around the surreal landscape. The white mist swirls around them, creating an otherworldly backdrop, as if they're ensnared in a dreamscape where reality and illusion blur together. But she is fighting her way back to consciousness. Abby's face contorts with a mix of anger and confusion, her body language rigid and defensive. Margaret's eyes are wide with worry, her hands trembling slightly as she reaches out to steady Abby.
Not true. You hold people off. It just takes time for you to grow on people. I got some liquid skin, but she has lost a ton of blood. Growing on people sort of like a fucking fungus.
Margaret sprayed the skin over Abby's stomach and then the chest.
That fucking burns, right? Were you shot? I fucking missed it if you were. I meant the spray. I meant the whole fucking shitty experience. Worst patient ever. I try. You need to lay low. I think I can make it now.
Abby rises and falls.
No, you can't. You'll slow us down. Flashback to childhood. Queen bitch speaks.
Abby replies. She stares at her sister and knows Amanda is right. She's always right. And that is a big part of the problem between them. Abby wants to be right sometimes. Standing, though, was probably not right. Her stomach feels like a mess. Hell, she doesn't want her sister to see her lose her cookies. If that happens, she'd never hear the end of it.
Okay, I'll try to stay here and bleed out quietly. Hold tight, Pumpkin. Meg's stabilized you. I'll be back for you.
Amanda offers. She touches her sister's cheek with her fingers and gently caresses it.
I'm gonna kill that freak. Just remember, we're going to out him and get my kid. Killing just puts us in jail.
Amanda glances back at her sister. Her face hardens.
He had my sister shot by his robot. You think this will remain civil? Holy shit, the selective mute speaks, or at least that inner serial killer girl. Breaking records tonight, Amanda.
Both the women glare back at Abby, who had stopped shifting to shout back.
Seriously, guys, she even knows how to write complicated emails in 10 words or less. Shit, fuck, piss. Anyway, I'm out, losers. You get the bad guys. I'll hold on.
She coughs several times, and Amanda's heart twists. Amanda worries her sister might be turning demented or delusional. Abby's face turns ashen as she raises her middle finger high, calling back.
Sit on it and spin, bitches. I got an idea. I'll take up a position here and serve as your sniper. I'll get them. Don't worry.
Abby whistles the theme to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and let out a small...
Ka.
Her sister giggles.
Hey, my sister will shoot the news so you can fall on the horse.
Abby started, then winced in pain.
And ride to friggin' safety.
Amanda throws her arms up and shrugs like she had no idea what her sister is saying.
Bitch, we gotta work on your revisionist westerns. There was a film world post John Wayne. I bet Queer Jane even knows that.
Amanda nods. Abby drifts in and out of consciousness. Sweat drips from her face, and she does not bother to answer. With one last clutch, Margaret grabs and holds all three jade statues tight. Sweat pours over her palms.
Wish me luck.
Amanda raises her gun. The gesture says,
I got your back.
Paul strides out in the front of the empty factory, shock etched into his features. His sleeve pistol clutched tightly in his hand. His two bodyguards rush to flank him, their weapons ready and aimed. From a distance, he spots two bodies sprawled on the ground. Paul's heart falls, and he thinks, oh my God, Alina's down. Why in hell's name did these women kill her? She was his everything. Rage boils up. Another person has left him. It blinds and overwhelms his ability to think. Paul bellows, his voice quivering with rage and grief. I'm going to kill you! You took my love!
You took my child, Anna,
Margaret retorts as her targeting computer whirs up, her voice steady and cold. Paul is momentarily stunned by the statement, but his determination hardens. Crazy bitch is trying to distract him. Adelina needs to be avenged. Margaret charges forward, her eyes blazing with determination. The two security guards unleash a hail of bullets from their automatic weapons. Amanda retaliates, her aim true. She strikes the first guard, who crumples like a car in a high-speed crash. The second guard's bullet grazes Margaret. His next shot would have been dead center on Margaret, but he shifts and fires on Amanda. Her shot pierces his head, and his neck snaps back violently. Most of his shots strike the scaffolding bars, but 3 shots find their mark in her stomach and neck. For Amanda, the world fades to black. She hears her sister screaming as she collapses to the ground. Unsettling neon lights flicker in the background, casting an uncanny radiance on the chaotic scene. With sounds of people in their homes and on the streets, Atlanta takes human form at night. The air throbs with tension, the sounds of gunfire reverberating through the Atlanta factory landscape. Paul's face contorts with grief and fury, his body trembling as he stands over the fallen bodies. His eyes are wild, tears mingling with the rain. He feels a deep, visceral pain. Margaret's breathing is labored, each step forward an act of sheer willpower. Her heart pounds, both from the exertion and the emotional weight of the confrontation. She locks eyes with Paul, her gaze filled with a mix of sorrow and fierce resolve. She knows the stakes, and she's ready to see this through. The showdown is brutal and swift, a clash of wills in a world where justice is hard to come by. Each movement, each shot fired, is driven by raw emotion and unrelenting purpose. All felt completely justified in killing their foes. The aftermath leaves a palpable heaviness in the air, a stark contrast to the neon glow that surrounds them. Paul flicks his wrist, firing and striking Margaret in the side. She staggers, holding her balance for a few seconds before collapsing to her knees. She fires another shot, but it misses as Paul strides toward her, his boots clinking like a gunslinger in a revisionist Western showdown. Paul sneers. "Do you want to know something about life?" He leans over and grabbing Margaret's jaw. "It isn't fair. You could do everything right, and the universe still smites you. You, of all people, should know this pretty intimately, Margaret LeBeau. But don't worry, Anna will be in a loving home with a loving family."
Heart.
It is enough to get the targeting computer and the bionic arm to go into automatic. With a grunt, Margaret thrusts the barrel of her gun to Paul's chest and fires, striking him right in the heart.
Shut the fuck up.
She retorts as his grasp on her jaw loosens.
I'll see you in hell.
She hears another shot and turns back to see Abby fire one last time as police cars roll into the area. They both collapse. Paul releases a befuddled yet sinister chuckle. This is it. It's finally over. It may be her end, but all that matters is it's his too. Closing her eyes, her final dreams are that Anna will be safe, and that the violence of the vigilante wars will finally be at an end. Paul's actions and those of his family had left 4,000 dealers killed and over 30,000 community members destroyed from the drugs and violence. She has taken down the corruption. Now, he'd be in hell waiting for her. Luminous signs cast a hellish radiance on the scene. The air is thick with tension, the sounds of gunfire echoing through the Atlanta landscape. Margaret's face contorts with pain, but her eyes blaze with fierce resolve. Her belief in Christian Gnosticism fuels her, the conviction that this corrupt, material world is but a shadow of a higher divine reality. She fights not just for Anna, but against the dark forces that enslave humanity in ignorance and suffering. Paul's face twists with a mix of rage and disbelief as he clutches his chest, blood seeping through his fingers. His body trembles, his eyes wild with a sinister gleam. Margaret's breathing is labored, each breath a struggle, but her spirit remains unbroken. She knows the stakes, but she's ready to see this through to the end. Fluttering his eyes, Paul wakes in a surprisingly comfortable hospital bed, surrounded by staffers. In the background, Jimmy Durante sings Smile. What night is it again? Paul groans as Winston pushes his way to the bedside. "My boy, you're awake, and just in time, too." Paul tries to raise his head, but becomes dizzy and slouches back. "Take it easy, son. It's going to be a while before you recover." "What did I miss, Dad?" His brain flashes back to the gunfight scene between him and the bounty hunter, causing a cold shiver to race through his body. "It's been a couple of months since you were shot in the heart. Those chromosomal alterations paid off. Kept you alive that night. Finally got my money's worth. Doctors did a mechanical heart transplant as soon as you got here." "Really?" 2 words, plastic heart. Be thankful it wasn't your balls. But for now, the TV's covering your election. You're not up by much. We hope you can clinch it without Fulton County's votes, though. They're expected to lean in favor of Braddock. I got some civil rights leaders, nonprofits, who we've donated to over the years to visit you in the hospital. Maybe that will be enough to suppress the anti-you vote there. It's been a charmed life, especially with the donor money. Celestina came through. Her PAC raised over $4 billion to buy you a seat. A lot of that money came from Reverend Jim George. You must be the most hated unconscious guy. As I said, the plastic bitch in you lasted a month or two. Then they did a mechanical heart transplant. So now you have one of those 3D stem cell printed hearts in you. Rutledge model, too. But they had to augment it with a mechanical chamber because there was so much tissue damage. So, I'm heartless? His father nods. One of the people on television tells a reporter, Aaliyah Braddock knows nothing about how to protect the people of Georgia. I still can't believe she's even as popular as she is. Winston smiles and taps his son on the shoulder. This is why we will win. Paul's staffers applaud when breaking news flashes on the television screen. It's the vote count for nearby Cobb County. If he wins here, how Fulton votes won't matter, as he'll have more than enough to declare victory. Everyone's eyes widen as the totals roll across the television screen. With 75% of the vote, Paul Jones wins the county, allowing the broadcast they're watching to declare that the new Georgian senator is Paul Jones, officially. The hospital room erupts in cheers and stomping in joy. Winston leans over the bedside and hugs his son. Paul did it. He reigned supreme, which was the sole purpose of the Vigilante War, served. For the first time since the ill-fated drone launch, he feels normal. Paul beams. I feel like been to hell and back. You have, kiddo. But I'm not sure you're back. Amanda wakes up in a prison hospital bed. She tries to turn but realizes her arm is shackled.
Well, look who just decided to wake the fuck up.
Abby calls over. Amanda sighs.
Listen, bitch. Baddies won. We're in a hospital prison. You've been in a coma for 3 months.
Amanda's face turns sad.
Marguerite? Deader than a fucking doornail.
Abby replies. A single tear forms in Amanda's eyes.
Don't go all fucking tears. At least the bitch's kid was released. They found the kid on the fucking side of the road the day after we went down. Guess it wasn't important to kill the little bitch anymore. And you?
Amanda bites back tears.
Thanks for asking. I was fucking shot. Painful as all hell, but I'm feeling much better now. Feels like I've been to hell and back. Anyhow, buck up. Judge Stoned will be here in about 2 hours for our arraignment.
Amanda appears stunned by the news.
They scheduled it for 2 hours after you wake, so we can be tried. I hope our public defender gets here in time. We're looking at 18 fucking years each. Hard time. And don't think that fucking cunt of a cop will save us. Bitch hasn't been around since that night, and from what I heard, she's a quad in a wheelchair. At least she lived. Quad?
A single tear rolls down Amanda's cheek.
Good to see you finally have some emotions, bitch. Welcome to the human race.
Abby rolls over to stare at her sister in the next bed, and Amanda readjusts. Her tone mellows, and she continues.
Yeah, well, quadriplegic.
This time, a torrent of tears escapes Abby's eyes. Amanda reaches over to touch her sister's hand, but the cuffs stop her from connecting. After a few seconds, she sighs.
Shit. I heard from one of the workers here that Jane's wife made her retire. It's not like they had a goddamn choice with Jane in a wheelchair and all.
The medical elements of their surroundings are stark. The hospital room is filled with advanced medical equipment, tubes and wires snaking around like mechanical vines. The air smells of antiseptic and metal. Constant reminder of the invasive technology keeping them alive. Amanda's goth punk worldview colors her perception of the world. She sees the cold, unfeeling machinery as a reflection of the society that puts them there. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows, making the room feel more like a dungeon than a place of healing. Amanda's eyes, lined with smudged black eyeliner, reflect a mix of sorrow and defiance. Her body, marked with tattoos and piercings, tells a story of rebellion and resilience. She feels the weight of the shackles, both physical and metaphorical, binding her to a fate she never chose. The world outside, with its neon lights and cybernetic enhancements, seems distant and alien. In this moment, all that matters is the bond between her and Abby, a fragile thread of humanity in a world gone mad. Senator Paul Jones will return in the 9 Towers of Babel. Thank you for listening to Atlanta Vigilante Wars, Case 010, To Hell and Back. Script by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. Based on a short story novella by Joseph Cautilli, Marisha Cautilli, and Peter Kim. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shauna Lee Carton.